Now I
coming in to the Parkway Automotive Studio with a combined weight of 642 pounds. It's the Dream Show Live with Isaac and me. People for the dream.
that was great.
Yeah, literally just a bit. But I still get down kind of. That was fun. Welcome to this 678-261-994. You've ever been personally injured? A personal injury attorney would be better. And Let's Grow Trial Firm at that phone number I just said, 678-226-1994. That's what they specialize in. That's what they do. They'd be happy to help you with any of your personal injury needs. And I'm sure if you've been personally injured, you got a lot of needs.
You just call Buddy too.
You can. You just chat him up and see what's going on, and then he'll help you out with whatever else is like on your plate. You know what I mean? He may help you eat it, or he just tell you it's like, let it go, man. It may not be worth it to have that problem. I don't know. He's a smart guy.
He might just give you the talk that you need.
Yeah, he might. He's been through some stuff. He knows how to do navigate situations, if you will. I think that's what attorneys do in general, right? They help you figure out appropriate steps to keep yourself out of trouble.
Yeah, by the minute though.
Huh?
They charge you.
I mean,
and isn't that the whole joke? Like, you don't call your lawyer for free.
Well, I mean, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if you need real advice, you want to call somebody that you know is going to give you solid advice, right? And so sometimes I think paying by the minute would be worth it for some advice that you might need. It might cost you more not to have that advice than it does to have it. I don't know. It's like the $1,000 technique at a seminar. How much is one solid win worth for you that you have forever?
It could be invaluable.
Yeah, it could be worth everything. Like, everything else that's good for you that you love could happen after that one thing. I don't know. That's a different topic. But
speaking of which, we've got a big thing going on coming up in April.
Man, big things. Big.
Yeah, like a bunch of big things.
It's pretty fun. This is I don't know. I shouldn't have maybe did it all so fast, which is what I think I had to do, though. It felt like the right thing to do. We moved in the last week. We were closed. We talked about it, I think, on the show for a couple of weeks. We were closed and doing tons of like work and remodel stuff. And,
how weird was that week off?
Honestly, in the middle of all the work, it wasn't that weird. It was weird, like starting back up classes a little bit yesterday. That felt awkward. Like I was out of practice, my routines or whatever, and like I didn't have a flow. I felt like set up, because it's the first time in a new space or whatever. It's a little bit different. It's much bigger. I think we have more mats now than we had building 2 weeks ago. So
it's a big jump.
It's a little bit of a difference, and it was just the right opportunity to grow. And there's a lot of work. There's always a lot of work, either way. I think this opportunity is creating other opportunities for some people, which will be the opportunities that will make us all, grow in the positive ways and really be part of the community and stuff. That's part of what we want to do here. And on April 9th, we're doing our Mid-South Classic, which is, EBI rules, submission only tournament. We're $2,000 and a special prize that's going to be for the winner to take home. I guess the cash is a little bit of a special prize, but this is also like
it's a cherry on top.
It's a special prize.
I don't think very many people can doubt this.
It's kind of cool, man. I think it's cool. I just did it on a whim. We kept talking about stuff that we wanted to do, and we could never settle on one. And so I just pulled the trigger on one that neither one of us ever talked about. So, all right, we can't argue. So we'll see. I think it's dope. It's in my closet.
So it's not an alive surprise. Like it's not a living thing.
Nobody's gonna attack you unless you have this thing.
And you get a baboon.
No, it's a memento for your victory, if you will. So we need a few more dudes. 185.
$100 buy-in.
$100 buy-in. Jump
Put
in.
your money on yourself.
$2,000 to the winner. I know a lot of people are, thinking about whatever and stuff. There's Pan Ams I've heard for some people and things like that. But
does Pan Am's promise you $2,000 if you win?
No, but for some people, that's the thing they train for the most, and it's their most important tournament.
I understand.
That's what I say. It's like, all right, man. That's not necessarily where I'm at in my journey with it anymore. But if that's what they want and they're pursuing, I remember a time that was a thing that I would say too.
So what is the pinnacle? Like what is the thing out there that everybody's trying to get to? Because there's ADCC.
Everything's different. It's different for
I guess
everybody.
it's just whatever it is in each one. Yeah.
Well, the specific man I was talking about with the Pan Ams, he would be a Masters Division grappler.
Right.
And so for a lot of the Masters Division, that was over 30 for people if you don't know that. The Pan Ams is like the biggest one for them. More guys show up for that than they do for Worlds at the older weight class, or it's like a really prestigious win for them. From my understanding, from when I was turning that age and getting into that kind of stuff, it's a big deal for them because winning the Worlds and stuff like that is a young man's game or whatever. And like you could be the Masters, champion or whatever and stuff. But a lot of times, like Pan Ams is one that they really like. It's the measuring stick for a lot of the guys that are doing the gi and different things like that. So if that's their main focus, it's that's the biggest thing, right? This is what it's all about. If this is your main focus or whatever you want to do it, then you should be able to do it and show your art however you want to. And if your art is in IBJJF style and the gi or whatever, then there's a segment of the world that loves that, and that's what it's for, and there's real applicable self-defense and fighting techniques that are in that, so you wouldn't be wasting your time if you went really heavy into the gi to get good enough to win Pan Ams at a black belt level, even when you're over 30 or whatever, stuff like that. It's still a big deal.
And guys that are having that argument is like, it's like baseball and cricket. Like, they're both sports. They're just different rules,
it's just
different objectives.
I mean, whatever you want to do, right? It's just different strokes for different folks in a way. And like, it's still grappling. It's like wrestling and Jiu Jitsu in a way or whatever. If they had like over 30 wrestling division and stuff, I'm sure there is that. You guys would do it on a rec level for fun. It's just fun. But if you're taking it very seriously and you want to win, that's another level of like showing your art. And so we're doing that, and I like that opportunity to give people an opportunity to put their money down themselves. If you win, you win. You get the money and other prizes. We've had some guys come through and win, get some good experience and move on to some bigger tournaments and do well and stuff like that. So we're looking to see, who else can come in. And with the return of EBI coming up soon, these will be good opportunity for anybody who thinks that they want to get a shot on an EBI show to get practice in the format, with the rule set and the ref, everything like that, to get comfortable. Because if you're not doing it, you're not going to do well against the people who are. When it comes down to the rules, like you can beat them if you're just better, but when it matters and it's tight, just like I'm saying, like if I went to a IBJJF gi tournament, I would get beaten more by the fine specifics of the game that they're playing than I would,
win 2 points or an advantage,
or if I'm just better.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, or if the guy's just better.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But I would definitely lose to guys that I could beat because they have better tactics in that realm. You know what I mean? So that's the interesting ADCC part, is that it is designed for that. That's the way that those rules are set up. And and so for us with that tournament, I like the EBI rule set. Sorry, I'm not gonna go off on the ADCC thing yet. I like the EBI rule set. It's one that I really got into heavy and enjoyed. It's where I earned my chops, so to say. Got my black belt under basically, going through that style of system more. I did a lot of the gi and point system stuff too, but like the EBI rule set is where I was really coming from a heavy brown belt to black belt competitor and understanding. And so I really enjoy it a lot as an art form because it gives the long 10-minute round. And when I was doing MMA, I always appreciated the pride 10-minute round to give time for the heavy hitter athletes to get a chance to get into the fight and carry the fight a little bit and have a chance to get in there. Whereas when you do other tournaments. I think now there's 8 minutes or whatever for black belts and stuff like that at IBJJF. But for me, if I wanted to do them and do any other stuff, a lot of times it's 4 or 6 minutes. And I don't know, man. I still like, we talked about that with the PGF. I don't know if it's just because of the way I built my game early and wanted that longevity style early, that it's been hard to switch to a faster paced game. So I liked the 10 minutes, and then I like the overtime because it gives a finality that's not a draw. And the overtime, everybody could have their choice about overtimes or whatever, but then if you do like golden score or you make them do a takedown or whatever, first takedown, then whoever the wrestler is going to win. Or if they're both really bad wrestlers, then you have a really like crappy wrestling match to see.
Just standing there dancing around and
Or first point is, that's kind of cool, I guess, in a way, the first point to score or whatever, but you got to, make sure what's happening in that situation. So I liked putting people on your back and in the armbar play because it's things you should be good at anyway. Both of those are really important positionally in so many aspects, I guess is what I mean to say. In jiu-jitsu, defending arms, defending your back, and then the interplay between the submission attacks is super important. So if you don't train that, you're not going to do well in it. But I appreciated it as an art form. I thought it was something that was really cool. So that's what I want to help continue to show with what we're doing. Beyond that, an idea that I've had and a thing that I've seen a lot is that there's a lot of like artists in the jiu-jitsu culture, in the scene or whatever, like graphic design or sketch or paint or other mediums of art form, video, like what we're doing right here, video and different things like that. There's a ton of artists that do jiu-jitsu because of, I think, the sameness of the craft, so to say, like just getting
same mindset,
just to get good at the given thing, how you have to tinker with it and go, beyond what you think, and try to piece it together in the way that you see it and not always, rely on other people, their interpretation of everything. Sometimes you got to like make the thing yourself in order for the world to understand what it is, so to say. And so we're going to have an art show. I guess we're hosting. Is that the way you would say that?
Yeah, it's like an art installment, I guess is the way that he puts it.
I don't want to do this. He's going to be okay. So this is that thing I've said before. I don't know a lot about these kind of things. Mandy and I love when we go to cities that have them to go to museums or to art galleries and walk around and look and to see things. And like when I was younger, I was always like, the same joke about looking at art or whatever. It's like, oh, it's a piece of string or whatever on a thing, or they just splattered something on, whatever. And it's like, well, that could be true to some degree, but now looking at certain things, you can see the craftsmanship that something has, or the time it put in, or the lines that they see.
Everything was done on purpose,
right? Yeah. And it's like, it's weird because you don't understand it, but now if that doesn't always mean it's bad, and sometimes you just can't understand it. It's not really for you to understand in a way, I guess. So I've thought that kind of stuff is really interesting, and again, I think there's so many cool artists that I've met that do jiu-jitsu. And then last year we went to Opelika and did a show inside RC Hagen's house, and he had some really incredible stuff just everywhere. And so that sparked an idea to me to try to figure out how to combine the couple of things. And you had mentioned that, that was something you had already thought about before. And so then it was like reinforcing a quiet idea that I had on my own because I didn't know how other people would feel about it. But I had saw Richie in San Diego. He would get like stuff like weird, not weird, but some of it was weird, like art or posters and different things, and put it on the wall. Or he made this corner with like monsters, like zombies or whatever posters for a while, whatever, and just tried to make the thing like his his like vibe or whatever, feeling like
Right.
that. And so like seeing that, kind of like putting your ideas out there in a way and just kind of letting it be. So we're gonna have RC there for an installment, and he's gonna have some of his stuff. I don't know what stuff, but there was a lot of really interesting and cool stuff that I saw. So hopefully some of the stuff that I thought was cool will be there, and I'm sure there'll be other interesting things. And then there's some things that I've seen of his that I don't understand. I don't get it. I just don't, and that's okay. That's something that for other people that they'll probably understand better, and that's the thing that they're
It speaks to
more
them.
into that, than I am or whatever. But there's definitely been some of the stuff that he's done that I was just like, whoa, that is amazing. And I would like to have some of that in my house or my school, or to see it in my, like on the wall somewhere in the city or whatever kind of stuff. So we're going to let him or have him invited him, whatever, to come do this show. And it'll be after the Mid-South in the evening. I don't have a specific time for that yet, but in the evening, after we have time to clean up for the tournament and different things like that, I guess. That's April 9th, the evening. And then the next day, we're having the Freak Brothers seminar with Boogie and Geo to come in. That's April 10th. It's $125 for 10th Planet members and $150 for non. I think there's only about maybe 10 more spots that we feel comfortable selling with the new space, even though we have so much of it. We still don't think, I don't know. I still don't, you know what I mean? It's a little scary to put this big of a number that we've kind of got already plus. So yeah, so we're doing that with them. It'll be like a dual seminar. I'm not sure exactly the layout of that, but then we're, that's all in one weekend. It's all downtown here in Perry. I don't know, man, like combining the arts it's something that's interesting to me.
Well, like he and I've done some cool things. Like he's done a bunch of cool stuff. Like he's always doing cool things. But I hung out with him for a while, and he was doing the Bad Kids Club, like RC was, and we did like art, and like there was people like making art. There were skateboarders. They were building ramps and doing all that stuff. And we had talked about how like Jiu Jitsu merging and all this stuff and putting it all together and tying all the different arts, like this big seminar going on. Like it's gonna just be like a big old thing of just Jiu Jitsu homies. Like,
yeah,
it's pretty exciting.
A community vibe, man. I think, but with their, and again, it won't all be for everyone, and that's okay. For the ones that are into it, they could have a space for that, and the non super competitive athlete people can maybe display what they see through jiu-jitsu, and it's not always the physical art is what you get, it's what we attach a lot with the jiu-jitsu, obviously, because it is a physical thing. It's a martial art, so there's obviously the physical part of it, but in general, the process, that's it. Like the process, the learning and bumping up against boundaries and pushing through boundaries and having to retreat when you go too far because you didn't, you overcorrect or, stuff like that. You as an artist, it's like you just got to create and you just got to make stuff. And so that's the same thing, when you're training, is like, you just got to go in there and try to make stuff. You got to make some arm bars, some rear naked chokes, some sweeps, some passes. You just got to come in and like diligently work on your craft, like diligently put in the work. And what do you want to do? What you want to build this? Well, then you got to think about the foundation for whatever that is you want to build and start there. The foundation isn't all the end game moves right away. The foundation is the beginning, right? That's where you lay the base for everything. So a lot of times that's why coaches try to start people slow. It's intentional to give you a chance to think about slowing down, because a lot of people are really intense when they come in to train. Like even if they're not wanting to be intense, they feel like it has to be intense, to
I'm fighting for my life. I
Right,
got to fight
exactly.
hard. I got to fight harder.
And so it's interesting to me to see that, and I don't know, like, I don't know the right way, I guess, to say that everybody should handle it, because there's some people that definitely need to be like taught that they're physically, going to be outgunned, and by their escalating that they're not going to be able to quote win.
It'll just make it worse.
Right?
Yeah.
You're just going to make it worse on yourself.
The classic wrestler.
But then most brand new people are going to go harder because they don't have any experience and they just think that that's what you're kind of supposed to do. And so you got to kind of balance those two like worlds of like what we used to call green lighting people in MMA schools, was like everybody that comes in to train or spar or whatever, they get beat up the first time. It's kind of like a gang initiation in a way.
Basically,
you get jumped in, and if you make it, then you make it. You're like one of the bros and stuff like that.
If you come back, basically,
yeah. And so there's an element of that exists, but I don't think that that's all jiu-jitsu is. And I think that a lot of the time people think about jiu-jitsu still only from the competitor's standpoint, only from an athlete's perspective. They only want to do the athlete's thing. Most people aren't going to have the athlete experience. Even if they're training a lot, they're still not going to have the athlete experience. They're still going to have to work hard. They're still going to have to like learn all the steps to put the puzzle together. It's just still going to be like a slow grind for a lot of people. And the faster you put some pressure on them to have to get like to a level of an athletic kind of player, it's not going to be good for them. Some people need that longer arc, and so you can't immediately, you should, I don't know. I don't think you should immediately like serve people that come to train, or new people in the gym shouldn't immediately get like beat up a lot or tapped a bunch of times or different things like that. I don't think that's right. I really don't. Now, like I said,
are there ones that do
there
need
is an
that?
element of that, like there, but those aren't brand new people typically. They can be, but a lot of those, like you said, were like we've wrestled before.
They came from something
I've trained
else.
something. I've done fighting or whatever.
What about the guy that's just like, because we've all run across the guy that, or I mean, even lady that comes in that is convinced that it doesn't work.
Well, you got to be able to show them. That's what I'm saying. Is like you got to show some people.
Yeah,
and then hopefully you can avoid having to like really have that on the mat necessarily, where you got to like teach them in a way in front of everybody or whatever. But sometimes, like sometimes the moment presents itself, and it's kind of like you gotta let them know where it's at. You can't just always let people off the hook, so to say. So I'm not gonna break you. I'm not gonna break your arm unless we're fighting. Yeah. Unless you've made me start fighting you, or you've like done something that like you started fighting, like you bit me or scratched me or like tried to gouge me or punch me or whatever. What and I've already mentioned, don't do that, or whatever. Like the first one may get a pass even for another person. Like, it's like, that's not what we're doing, or whatever. But then that's a different thing altogether.
That's an escalation.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So like, as long as we're not doing that, then for me, I need to show you the power of control, not the power of kicking your ass every chance for an infinite number of times. If I can show you that you're helpless, not that I can just kill you, right? But that I can make it last
at any point. Yeah.
Yeah. I can just make this hurt a long time if I want to. I don't have to kill you, but I could also do that. I'm just going to make it hurt for a really long time. That's the lesson I like to give to those people, because a lot of times
I'm not going to let you out.
It's not always, because then you're going might makes right again, which is kind of true in a way for sure what we're doing. But for me, I want to control you to death, and I want to flex my control that I've learned through the art. That's what I've learned through the art is control, and through my control, I can finish when I need to, like you said, and I can escalate also, controlled aggression. That's what I would tell people all the time. That's what we want to do. We want to have like controlled, patient, like aggression. You want to be moving forward aggressively, but patiently, and waiting for the right time to be more aggressive. But you're always like moving forward, looking for that thing, looking for that next opportunity.
Marcus says you're preaching this morning.
So Marcus, thank you. But it is that, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to break somebody's arm because they won't tap to an arm bar.
Right.
So I may let it go and tell them, hey, dude, you know, that could break your arm. And they're like, oh no, it's like, okay, cool, man, whatever.
What about leg entanglements? Where when you have somebody dead to rights and they won't tap to it, and you're like, man, I'm gonna have to blow your knee out, like, or do you just let it go?
So I've asked people
to acknowledge
and they've told me to go, and I'll go. And then sometimes I've like looked at them and gave them the look, and they're just like, whatever. And so then I'll keep trying to apply the pressure because I don't think I have it. And so, yeah, I've popped people. I haven't really broken anyone, but I've popped people doing like,
we're letting it go too far.
Well, because I didn't think I had it.
Yeah.
Because if I thought I had it, I would let it go. But you not shown me anything to think that I had it. So I'm working out the rest of the space on you. And then, oh, shoot. Okay. His leg doesn't go any further than everybody else's. Okay. That was right. You know,
turns out it don't spin twice.
Because that's what I'm saying. Like sometimes guys are like, no, it's fine, man. I'm fine. And it's like, flexible. Are you? I don't know. And sometimes I see videos of things and it's like, dang, man, maybe some people are, but then you look, maybe the other person's not really applying the same pressure that I would be, or I feel like I'm putting on this person, even though I look like I have the same
angles,
lock or whatever. There's something quite different. They are a little more flexible than he is, or the other person's not quite as thick as I am, or maybe whatever.
Their foot's a little smaller.
They got a pre-existing injury or not. You know what I mean? I don't know. But yeah, I've popped a few people. I've popped ankles. You know, I've popped some people's necks. I've popped shoulders and arms, and yeah, I've like accidentally popped people's knees. I don't think I've ever like knee barred someone and popped them, but like things have happened rolling. So like accidents happen, people get hurt. We're learning a dangerous sport for sure. So the more you make someone prove the point to you, the less lengthy your career is going to be.
Yeah.
The more you have to have the point proven to you, the more it's going to be proven, and the less range of motion you'll have, the less like mental aptitude you'll have, because you'll just be constantly getting beaten down worse and worse. So there's a element of learning where the line is, right? Like I've been choked out. I've been choked out. I've had my elbows popped. I've had my neck popped. I've had my like ribs popped from letting cranks and different things go too far, because like, I'm fine.
I'm not going to tap to a crank.
Yeah. And there's like, and it's like, oh, okay, well, all right, maybe I should respect those from now on, but it's too late at this point to respect that one. And now I'll know the lesson was taught to me. And so now I'm a lot more cautious about just eating things in non-important situations. And most of the grappling situations I have now are not that important to get like physically broken for. When I was fighting, you could have tried to kill me and that would have been okay. I was ready to die. Like mentally in my mind, I was like, yeah, whatever.
Was back then the practice room the same vibe?
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, it was just
kill or die every day.
That was every day, pretty much. Yeah, several days a week sparring, and the way to be the best was just to be the hardest all the time. And that's what I said. Like I think like a couple weeks ago, like there was nobody that was going to be harder than me. Period. Ever. It just wasn't. It wasn't a possibility. There's not a man that exists that's tougher than me. They may be able to beat me. They may be able to do other things than I can do, but they're not tougher. They won't be mentally stronger in a fight than I am.
They're going to hate fighting you at the end of the day.
For sure. Yeah. That's what I mean. It's like, you got to put me away, dude, every single time. And that's a good thing to be known for, but it's also not the best like style over the course of 19 fights, in a professional environment where you're relying on your toughness more than, getting better at strategy and getting better at tactics and getting better at technique, instead of just going harder and being tougher than everybody every single time, because everybody's pretty tough at a certain point. And then when their skill trumps yours and they're tough close to the same level, then it doesn't really matter, So time limits, 15 minutes isn't that long if you're tough. You know what I mean? It goes by really fast. And if you're a good fighter, you can make it carry if you're both pretty good and strategic. So yeah, man, it was a fight all the time. So I don't like to do that in jiu-jitsu all the time because I think that's the power. That's where it is. That's what the thing is. I thought, we can definitely hit people. Like we can use it to get to positions to finish people with strikes and stuff like that if you need to. But for the most part, it's not necessarily to sit there and just like keep teeing off unless you know what I mean, unless it's a life or death kind of situation. And most of us are not doing that. Most of us are not like training for that situation that often. So I don't believe most new people just need to be fed to the wolves unless, like you said, they just already have grappling experience of some sort. They feel like they, are ready to go. There's tough guys that can handle. There's tough people that can handle going hard early. Like, don't get me wrong, but I don't think there's a reason to
immediately baptize them by fire.
To just like demoralize them. You know what I mean?
You feel like that the loss of people that go, this ain't for me, is greater than what you gain by the people that are like, all right, I'm all in after that.
Well, there's a lesson that you're trying to teach, and I guess some people are trying to teach that they're the best and that they're better than other people and whatever. And then there could be the lesson that you're trying to teach, the power of this thing and how you can use it to not have to hurt people all the time, and you can use it to not be so violent and not have to be so aggressive and angry and like
the gentle art aspect.
Right. Yeah. That side of it in a way of where you can just like the yielding art. That way it's like, yeah, man, it's cool, man. Whatever. You can cut in front, man. Realistically, it's going to cost me 2 or 3 minutes at the most. Okay. But fighter Steven was ready to like fight for that 2 or 3 minutes in a line that I was going to be in for
on principle.
Just because it's mine. And so it's learning how to live like a more happy life, I think, for me. And I think that a lot of the fighter dudes end up with that same mentality, even if they stay in fighting. It's hard. The guys that end up coaches or whatever, you got to stay in that really hard mindset because you got to keep these young cats that need it like ready to go like that. So it's hard to get out of it and stay out of it. But a lot of those guys end up broken too, the coaches, because they're still fighting and training along and helping with their guys and stuff. And it's just really hard to do fighting that way.
Because then you got to go fight your guys when they start thinking, it's like the kid that can like fight his dad.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's like there's a different level to that when you're boxing and kickboxing and everything. It changes the perspective. And for me, that would change it for me again. That's what I mean. It's like it would make me want to feel like I need to be in a different position more.
Can you not be both?
Probably at a later time, but not right now.
You're saying you personally?
Yeah.
You personally couldn't do it right now. But the possibility is there to be both. I guess was my question.
I think sort of, because I mean, if you have it in you to do it every day, right? And there's a thing, I have 2 young kids, so it's hard enough dealing with the stress of everything that we do now, and they still have time and energy to be with them and be positive all the time with them because I'm not worried about everything else. Dealing with a fight team is hard, man. It's really stressful. There's so much going on all the time. There's so many things they need to learn now. Like you can't fight without knowing stuff. And I don't think I would have any fighters. Like I've had a hard time keeping fighters because I'm hard on them. I'm hard to deal with when it comes to fighting because I know what it's like when you don't do well, even when you try hard.
But do you think some of that for some guys is it's an ego thing for some of the coaches that like it's almost like the like hard sports dad that's like living through the kid. It's that they're attached to that fighter's journey as if it were their own journey as opposed to just guiding them. Does that make sense?
I mean, I guess so. And I don't know.
I feel like that's where they get.
And I don't know if that's wrong though. Like,
I'm not saying it is.
Like, I don't know if that's wrong because they're being helpful in a lot of ways to people. I just don't know that I'm that person anymore because, and I don't like, again, I think I've always been a good coach, but I don't know if I've ever been a great like MMA coach.
What makes a great MMA coach?
I don't know. I don't know. It's hard. That's what I mean. I think you need a team of
Do you
MMA
think you
coaches.
ever had? Do you think you ever had a one person or a team of people that were that?
It was pretty close in San Diego for a little bit, but it was so much at the end of
Oh, too
things that
late
I
too.
didn't really get to do it enough to understand it well yet. Um, I think I was a little bit too independent too, in a way, like just needed to do it myself because I didn't feel like everybody else cared as much as I did a lot of the times about me, and that was like a personal, again, that was more of a personal thing that I had to work through on my own too. I needed to do it all by myself, and I still feel that way about stuff.
I was gonna say, do you think you got the lessons that you would have
Not,
gotten
I mean,
or would have
yeah,
gotten?
some no,
Like if
like I
somebody was
needed
waking
to.
you up and running you every morning at 4 a.m., making sure you're doing all your stuff and it wasn't all up to you, do you think you would have gotten the same lessons in the same way?
Probably not. That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
I get that there's a person that needs to do that, just like there need to be drill sergeants for the military or whatever and stuff like that. I just don't think that's the person I want to be
Yeah.
every day. I don't want to have to do that every day. I don't want to have to be mean to my students because they're not coming to class or coming to training, or everything in their life isn't committed to me and what we're doing at the gym all the time. And if you're trying to be a fighter, if you're really, really, really wanting to be a fighter, you have to be at the gym all day pretty much.
Yeah.
In and out at least, to be going just to rest and come back and train again or do another session of some sort of something. If you're not doing training, you need to be doing recovery
I
stuff
was
or
fixing to say that
mental work,
the
or
recovery part is where most of the guys mess up.
that's where everybody messes
Yeah.
up. Like almost everybody trains hard, but nobody recovers.
Yeah.
Nobody recovers.
Recovers hard.
Yeah,
Like
recovers
on
hard.
purpose.
Yeah, exactly. You don't
Yeah.
have a recovery program. Most guys don't. Like
Yeah.
I'm sure higher level people are doing it now. But I bet a lot of them even aren't.
Even so, like I've seen the guys that like they think they are, but they're not paying attention to it to the point that you need to be a professional athlete.
There's a difference. There's such a difference,
Yeah.
man. And there's such a high level of guys that are professional, that are getting by, and myself included for a while. When I was doing it, I didn't do it at the highest possible level all the time because it's really hard. It's really, really hard to do everything all the way, all the time. And that's why you don't see a lot of
And
people.
when you mess it up, it's like, oh man, like I completely forgot to drink any water today.
catastrophic.
Yeah.
And like I've done that, and that's when I've popped my knee before. Like
Mhm.
I forgot to drink water or didn't warm up enough, and I like tore my meniscus one day. I can remember that happening. Like it was fine, okay, but I do remember that was one of the times my knee clicked for the first time. Was when I went in cold and started training while I was dehydrated, and so my joints weren't lubricated. So I learned a lesson there. That's why I spend a little bit extra time trying to grease the joints now as much as I can, and tell everybody to hydrate up if we're doing
Bro,
stuff.
I want to get you on a whoop strap. I just want to see what your recovery's like. Because honestly, you do such a good job of your recovery because I've seen it from, up close before.
I try.
I would be interested just to see what your
It's
numbers
stressful.
are.
Recovering is stressful, man.
Yeah.
Because you got to fight people for it.
Yeah.
You have to fight people for that time. I literally have to fight for the time for myself to do what I need to do. I feel like to be who everybody thinks I am, I guess, or whatever that is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To stay in character or whatever this is, this existence. And that's what I was saying about going in between the shows or whatever and doing the different things. It's like, man, doing the announcer for PGF was easy. But when I get in my gym and I'm doing the Mid-South stuff, I'm thinking about 10 other things that are like administrative. I can't be funny right now. It's really, it's like it's too serious right now. You know what I mean?
I don't have a hot take.
Yeah, it's like everybody's doing great, man. Y'all are doing a great job, except for this dude over here. But I don't want to like let that bleed into the broadcast or bleed into the show, and stuff. So that's kind of why I take a step back there. And I think that's part of that whole thing too, is learning what makes you feel a certain way. And some things are good, like leaning into uncomfortable stuff is good and important, but sometimes just needing to do everything is bad. That's not a good thing. And that's where I am trying to get to. I grew up in a way that I had to be very independent. I had to do everything for myself a lot of times and figure out stuff that I didn't know because nobody was really telling me, and so I just made it up kind of stuff. And I've done that for a long time, even when I was with coaches and stuff like that. Um, I was still training a lot and looking at, like I talked to you guys about watching videos and different things. I was always just like needed more. Anything I'm into, I'm really, really into. I'm obsessed with what I'm obsessed with, and sometimes it's a pass and fade or whatever. But with martial arts, it never went away because there's always another thing with that I could obsess over for a little bit, and then that'll give me more information about another thing that I can obsess over, and so that's what's kept me in this loop. um so I don't know, I forget where we went all the
Well,
way
and
around
like
there.
you were talking about artists and whatnot in the aspect of the
Well, that's what it
similarity.
is, right? It's
Is
like
that like mastery?
you're trying to
Yeah.
express something, right? You want to express something to the world that's inside of you, that it's hard. You can say it, right? That could be an art form of saying it or whatever. But for some people, they have a hard time like expressing what's inside of them with words or whatever. And so, some of us needed a physical thing. And what was inside of me for a long time was really angry and wanted to fight and like break things, and needed to be in super control of everything, because that's what made me feel safe, is when I could beat everybody up and had control of the situation and everybody let me just be in control. Well, it's really hard for me to let go of that stuff sometimes, because it may get dangerous for me in some way, and I may have to lose something or whatever.
Whether
And I
that's like
don't,
a social
yeah.
situation or
And so, but it
yeah,
all feels kind of the same
the
in a
same
lot of
way.
ways,
Yeah.
right? Because it was when I was growing up, you know what I mean? If I didn't have control of some social situations, you get ridiculed or whatever. Well, the easiest way to stop that was when I beat up a couple
Hit,
kids.
hit somebody in the mouth and
They
nobody
quit talking.
ridicules you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
like, oh, you better not say anything to him. At least they didn't say it to me.
Just didn't say it to your
So
face.
and
Yeah.
that's what I said. That made me, I felt okay with that. You know what I mean? That gave me the space I needed a lot of times, and then it just kind of became as a personality trait, as like I was a fighter, forever, my whole life or whatever. It's like that's what I just was, that because of that same other thing. It's like I don't know, I felt like I couldn't win with banter
Right.
much. And so that's why I really started try to get good at talking trash, and like watched a lot of wrestling promos, man. Like to like see things, and to draw that human reaction out of somebody, because that's what they were doing to me. I didn't know it for a long time, but that's all it is everybody's just like poking at each other and
Posturing.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like whoever wins that thing typically is gonna win. The situation is most people don't want to fight. And so that's why I was able to dominate that realm of that, because nobody would want to fight. Well, then that kind of just ran out. And I didn't want to be known as the person that would just like fight everybody. I'm a nice person. Like,
Yeah,
it's like,
you discovered how lonely that could also make you. It's
I'm
like, oh,
nice.
they gave me
Yeah.
space, but it's because they're scared of
Yeah,
me.
right. Exactly. It's like I'm
Yeah.
not really like violent like that, but I will be, but it's mostly to protect stuff. It's not really to just destroy it, but I'll tear up anything that is trying to destroy something that I love. So it's been that. And so maybe people do need that. And maybe somebody does need to go. And dude, that's why I think maybe some people do need to go in the military, or some people do need to do the Peace Corps, or some people do need to volunteer or go on a mission for your church, or whatever it is that you need, that journey of whatever that is spiritually, to give you like fulfillment. And so you can express that into the world, whether that's your art is whatever, spoken word, you write, you talk to people, like the oral tradition, you sit around, in your house and you just tell people about your experiences or whatever with your families. It's still like that thing. And I want to foster that here in Perry and at our school, and with this big space. There's so many like things we can do. Like I like live music. Why not have somebody come in and play music while we're training on Friday nights, doing like our whatever we call it on Fridays. We can change it to like a live music night on Friday nights, and let some people come in and just jam.
Yeah.
Like a few different people come jam or whatever, and y'all just
Yeah.
work out together while we're working out. And I think that's awesome, man. I think that'd be so much fun. And why not? Why not let them come do their thing while we're doing our thing? And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, then it's like, well, this wasn't maybe the right hit, but we'll figure out.
I mean, I think if people like it, then people like it.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, even if it's just for us, even if we, the students who are already there,
they're just doing it for
and the person who wants to come play music just wants to come play music somewhere and practice playing music in a room with people, that would be something that would be dope. I would appreciate that for them to do that for us, and I would appreciate, you know, that opportunity to be in the room for somebody that's playing. Like we go to eat in these places downtown. There's somebody playing, you know, guitar and singing, you know, a lot of them, and it's not a band or anything. So it's just kind of
like acoustic gigs.
Yeah, it's just kind of cool, man. I don't know, and nobody's necessarily setting the world on fire with anything, but that's not the point either, right? That's what I'm saying. It's like, you're not necessarily looking for the $500,000 show on Friday nights or whatever. We're just looking to hear somebody play some music they care about.
Maybe some open mic comedy.
Yeah, I'm down for some of that, man. Like, honestly, Mandy and I've talked about that. We love going to comedy shows. We did a bunch in San Diego. So we thought about trying to figure out how to bring a show here somehow. Or we're doing.
Andy asked if you were a musician.
I'm not, man. I wish I was. I wish I was. It's a thing that I still think about. Like, man, I'm gonna sit down and start trying to dabble. I've dabbled
the same way you would do with jiu-jitsu.
I think that's why I'm trying to make it like a music night, is so that I have an excuse to like pick up something and hit it or shake it or strum it.
Christian said he's gonna bring his axe out.
Yeah, I mean, we can't play any of that screaming stuff, Christian. You know what I mean? you find some soft stuff for your boy here. I can't be getting too mad. Like,
he doesn't.
I'm sorry. There's that's the one line.
There's gonna be one line.
There's only one line. I guess. Sorry, man. You can shred though, bro. You can sit there and shred. Just please don't scream. Like, raw or whatever that is. I've heard your stuff, man. It's like, but
bro, that's a skill.
Have you ever seen I've seen
the screamo bands?
I've seen him do that. That's what I mean. Him and like Andrew Miller, I think, or whoever were in some stuff.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
So, like, I just saw that, and so it's like, that's really crazy. I'm not into that, but I can see where
the skill that it takes
what you're
to do
doing.
It's
not his voice. He's like trying to time it and make it sound a certain way. That's just not what I'm into. You know what I mean? But that's what I'm saying. Is that doesn't mean it's dumb or anything. I just don't want to listen to it. You know,
it's the same as like a vibe, any vibe.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's like I like more like of a chilled music. Is that me or you?
I don't know.
Oh, it's me. How did that happen?
I have no idea. Sierra just started playing You and Me through. That was some. Yeah. All right, Andy said it himself. Clocks are imagined or something like that.
See, I'm not even getting into that with you, man. I read that again before I started the show. I'm trying to figure that out. I don't know if you're being serious yet all the way because I don't know. That's what I don't know.
Time's a construct.
But no, like I played the drums in middle school in the band, but then we were too far away from town to play anything.
I played in the homeschool marching band. So.
Yeah, you're killing it, man. I didn't have any instruments at home, but like
so you couldn't practice at home.
I sang in the church choir when I was a kid.
I bet you. This is another AKA coming.
I was in chorus in middle school. I was the best dude singer in chorus because there was only two of us.
Hey man, but still
he didn't have no heart though. He was scared. He was scared. Your boy was just like, all right, this is gonna be my move.
Throwing out some pipes.
Just, you know.
Man, we gotta get Steven on the mic.
I think I've always just I've always just wanted to perform or been a bit of a performer in some way, you know. And so like I would like to do some of that. I don't know. I'd like to get some music going or some.
Christian says he only plays he only plays the blues and softer stuff when he's playing the guitar.
Okay. I can respect that.
He said we can crowd kill though if you want to run it. I don't even know what that means.
No, he's trying to run everybody out, right? I think he wants to fight the like mosh pit people. It's concrete floors, man. I don't think I want to do that.
Steve and Andy said that he's serial, so he's serious about that time thing. I gotta read it.
I'm gonna look into it. Because time is obviously a thing, right? The way that we explain time to each other. And so like I'm sure you're not wrong in the way that you're saying the things that you're saying. But what if I told you that language was made up then? And all the words you're saying are wrong?
I mean, technically depends on which language you're trying to speak, right?
It's interpretations.
Ooh.
So what about that, Andy? It's off the cuff. I haven't thought about what you said much, but I'm still not sure about this time situation. We think of time as a fixed object, but I mean, it's about to spring forward an hour and back right now too. So like time you could think of in ages.
Are they following that?
Yeah, we are. I thought we voted it out, man, but I guess not. So
I guess the people
don't like. That's what I'm saying. People like to control time in a way that they think is real, but it's not. Like you just saying that it's a different time now doesn't really mean it's a different time. It's the same time always. It's always now. Right?
Yeah.
It's always the same time. You just give it a different number based on where the sun is in the sky or in relation to where you thought it was at another arbitrary moment in time. But if we're really hurling through space, I don't know if anybody knows where anything is because it's moving too fast. We can't comprehend how fast some of this stuff is allegedly moving through space and time. What is a light year? Have you ever traveled a light year?
Oh, okay. So when I was up hanging out in Decatur last week, I was hanging out with Keelan. And
I'm afraid.
be very.
I tried to confuse everybody then, and now I'm scared.
Oh, yeah. Just wait. So we watched this video about so he gave me this video to watch that was talking about the fact that 1 times 1 isn't really 1.
Okay, you mentioned
math
this
is
to me.
fake.
Explain to me. Explain it to me. I need the Isaac. I want the Isaac synopsis before I learn anything else about this. That way, okay, everybody, listen. I don't know anything about this topic, but I'm about to pick it apart right here. 1 times 1 is.
So, the way that it was explained by who's the guy? Cuba
Gooden Jr.
Gooden, yeah, that guy.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's off in talking about some stuff.
Show me the money.
Yeah. So he puts out that there is, if the bank gives you $1 and gives you $1 and calls that 1 times 1, that's not really 1, that's 2. And he said this in a room full of Oxford students. And at the end of the Q&A of the AMA, whatever that they were doing, all of them just asked him about his acting career. So I'll send you the video.
So
and anybody, I'll put the link in the notes or whatever.
I think it's language.
I think he's language. Confusing the language.
Because 1 times 1 means 1 time. If it's times 2, it means 2 times or 3 times. It's whatever X is, the number of times that you have. So if it's 1 time, only whatever that number is of the 1 alleged time thing. See, there's your time, Andy.
Yeah. Here, Andy, time. Call me again. I didn't hear it. It's on.
Oh God.
And Andy,
is this a call-in show now?
Yeah.
This is awesome. Andy, thank you. Nobody's ever done that before.
Let me see. If
somebody else called me to jump in here and argue with Andy.
Hey, you in here?
Yeah, I mean, it made when I answered your call, it turned the YouTube off.
Oh no.
Yeah. Okay, so y'all are interesting, and I enjoy listening to y'all.
Thank you.
So, what was your thing about time, Andy?
All right. So what Steven was saying was all real and spot on. But it's like, let's talk about like definitions and what exactly are we talking about. So like real,
oh, yes.
I don't like how people use real and fake lately because it's like, that's not real specific. So it's like, there's real things that are not concrete. Like I used the example in that Facebook post earlier, I think about symmetry. Symmetry is a real thing, but it's not a concrete thing. But it's not like fake. You're not being tricked into thinking that there's this concept called symmetry that doesn't actually exist. Right. So like time, the concept of time or the idea of time is real, and you can use it like mathematically, which I'm not smart enough to do this, but there are people that use time as an aspect of mathematical formulas for physics and, different like mathematical equations. Right. So that aspect of time for sure is real, but it's like also the like, I think, and I may not be talking about exactly what y'all are talking about, but like
nobody knows what I'm talking about.
Passes because time is just it's it's like how you measure change. So like every like change that occurs is reflecting to you that some time has passed. But like, you know, if I don't set my clock forward or backward an hour, it doesn't change like how long the particles that make up my being have existed, for example. Like I don't get an hour older because you change the clocks. I don't get an hour younger when you change them back. So it's like the most concrete, we measure time in this way kind of thing. That is a construct, just like language is. And I've been going for a long time. So where y'all at?
Oh no, you're good. I think that you just covered everything that we were trying to talk about.
I love it. I love it, man.
You know, the like Planck second, I believe it's called, is the measurement. It's like the tiniest measurement of time, but it's the amount of time that some kind of process happens at a subatomic level. Like I'm just making this up, but it's something like the amount of time that it takes for two subatomic particles to bond and create a new particle or something like that. But it's like if you reduce time all the way down to the very most basic, it's really just like an observation of change in the universe. But that leads you to time can go either direction. You know what I mean? Like when you say, what are you going to have for breakfast tomorrow? That seems like this really broad question. You could have anything, but it's like, what are you going to have for breakfast yesterday is a different question. It's just because we experience, just like I was talking about, you experience a book from the beginning to the end, you know, you experience time from the beginning to the end. Like if you turn the arrow of time around and look backwards, it makes for an unbelievably different and weird universe. Because, for example, someone that's building something is taking something apart. An explosion, if time flows backwards, is things flying back together to create something. Right. And so it's like time is sort of, while it goes both ways, I don't think our human experience can like encompass that. But dude, I'm out here in the wind and I'm freezing.
Oh, you're good.
Back into y'all. You can probably hear it in my voice. I'm starting to shiver.
We enjoyed the enlightenment.
This is amazing.
Oh yeah, dude, I loved it too. I was dying to get in touch with you, bro. Thanks for calling me back.
Hey,
y'all have stimulated my brain. Yes. But I'm gonna run, buddy. I'm freezing.
Cool.
Thank you so much, Andy. Oh my God.
You see why I love that dude?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh man. If he hadn't have gotten cold, he probably would have gone on for another like 30 minutes. I
was just gonna listen too. I'm gonna listen back.
You're over here just Googling.
I'm looking up the Planck scale right now. It's the quantities of space, time, energy, and other units that are similar in magnitude to corresponding Planck units. So the scale refers to the number of units that this guy created, but it is the smallest segment of time ever measured. It's roughly 10 to the negative 44 second power.
If math is real. Because that's circling
44th negative 44th power. I don't know how you would say that. That's crazy. So like everything is and Andy, you're right, exactly right. I think I agree with most of what you were saying. It was just kind of hard to text all that out on our Facebook stuff. But like if you look at time the way that we look at time on a watch, that's more or less the way that I'm joking about it when I say time. Everybody wants you to do something at an arbitrary time on the clock. But for instance, what if you're somewhere and I can't remember where I was listening to this at, but there was this place and this guy was a pastor and he was going to church there, and he struggled because in America here we think of time like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 1:30, 12 o'clock or whatever. And so like if you go to church in the morning or whatever at a certain time, you go at 10 or, you know what I mean? But for them, I can't remember the specifics of it either, but based on where they were, different people would show up at different times, but it was still considered the same time because the way they measured time was in the way like the temperature of the day. So, but when it was still cool in the morning or whatever, that was kind of like one time. But then when it got a little bit warmer in the day, that's when it was the next, like, quote, time of day. And so that's when people would start showing up, is when they felt like it was that time because there was no clock to tell them what time to be there. And
That's
so,
how I avoid jet lag.
so he struggled with that for a while because he's like, I was like, all right, we gotta be here at like 10 o'clock or whatever. And then people would just be showing up randomly, you know, late, and he'd already be all whatever into whatever he's doing. But he had to accept, you know, time is a social construct. The way that we
Right.
see time is social. And so, yeah, jet lag, all that kind of stuff, it does affect you in a real way, the way that we have time. But time is like an age. You know, I like the way he was saying that's the way that you measure change or whatever, like in ages. Like looking back, it's easy to see and think about time for me. I don't,
Right.
I have a hard time, again, no pun intended, with thinking of future time. Like, of course, there's things I want to do, but I have a hard, you know, I can't, it's hard to conceptualize that fully because it hasn't happened. You try to manifest the future, I guess, is what we all say, right? You want to manifest the future that you want. But definitely, that's why we say hindsight's 50-50.
50-50.
Because you can look back and make a better decision.
So it was Terrence Howard. It's not
Okay, not Cuba.
not Cuba, but you could understand that slip. But yeah, this is the crazy stuff.
Is it okay to watch this? Are we going?
I don't know.
Are we going to pull it off for this, Jamie?
So basically, somewhere in here, hold on.
He's a good actor.
Let me find. So this is at Oxford, and he's talking about where he starts. All right. He's talking about the have you seen the drawing? What is it? The Star of Life, or is it the circle? Is that right?
I have no clue.
Flower of Life.
And as a result, what I was doing
is that the symmetry Andy was talking about?
Right.
distance between 2 points is curved space because you cannot force your way straight through space. Even electricity.
Okay, so that's the main point that he's making about the fact that the math that we have.
I'm gonna have to research that stuff.
So he's saying that like the math that we have cannot calculate a space, like space in space. So
what is space?
The shortest distance between a place or between two places is a straight line, is what we're taught. And he's like, when you're talking about like space, like galaxies and outer space, you have to calculate where something's going to be, not where something is. And we don't have the math to be able to do that. At however, I'm dumb. How many ever thousands of miles?
Allegedly that we're traveling and spinning and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Allegedly. And I think that's the thing. Is like everybody's so sure that everybody knows so much about stuff. It's just a bunch of people, man, with ideas, just like you have ideas. And so if you can get enough people to believe your ideas, then it becomes the truth, you know, to the majority. I don't know if going with the crowd, that's like jumping off the bridge, right? Our parents taught us about that. Just because everybody else is doing it doesn't mean it's right. So just because everybody else is kind of thinking that something is the way it is, you know, how many times has that been proven over and over and over wrong, that, you know, not things are not what we thought they were.
We figured out the earth wasn't flat, not that long ago by human history standards.
I mean, human history is not even that long by
galactic standards.
Right, you know what I mean? So that's what I mean. And so it was interesting that he mentioned that about the forward and reverse of time. Is like if you reverse this, the Big Bang would be things getting put back together. So we are already destruction by like nature. Then
So are we moving forwards or backwards?
we're moving away from the center.
Okay.
I don't know if that's good or bad, but it is what's happening, allegedly.
That's what they say. That's what they say.
Like I don't know. I don't know. And that's been one of the things I've always like tried to argue with people about is like all I know really, besides the things that I've tried to observe on my own, are the things that I've learned that were in books that other people kind of said were right. But we've all seen that books can be misleading or not correct. You know, there could be, you know, all kinds of things like that. So I struggle sometimes to say, you know, well, you know, I know this to be so because, you know, it's in the books, you know, but well, you know, the books aren't always exactly
Well, and there's other books too.
right. And there's interpretations, and then there's, you know, this is one person's thoughts on this thing, and they've researched this thing a lot. So that's why they feel this way. Well, another person's researched something just a little bit different, but that's right there on the same thing. And then something that they have kind of contradicts each other. And so then, like historically, Andy, this is where your time thing comes back in. You can look back, hopefully, and see what was true or not true and who was telling, you know, whatever. But again, it's really hard when you don't have any history. You don't know how to, like, how do you trace the history back?
So why does history repeat itself?
I think
that old adage.
It's just the existence of people forget what's already happened. Like
you already occurred.
Well, it's most of the things happen outside of like natural disasters and stuff like that. Most of the human condition is created by our own problem. Us, you know, we create all of our own problems. So yeah, so most of the problems just repeat themselves in a more modern way. You know, it just reinvents itself a little bit newer. And we call it, oh, I've never seen this before. It's like this meme I saw one time. It's been a little while, but like everybody's talking about how, oh, everybody's just like staring at their phones or whatever, and nobody's doing like human interaction. And there's a picture of people like riding a train to work back in the day, and everybody's like holding up their newspaper, like reading their newspaper, and not sitting there talking to each other either. So it's like, you know, that was people were trying to say that the phones are a problem, or
they said the printing press was going to make people stupid.
Well, but that's because that's what they want you to think, right? That's what they wanted you to think. Because if you believe that that was going to be the case, you wouldn't want to get books to read and understand things for yourself. You just had to take what they told you as face value.
That was somebody super important. If this makes anybody feel better about the fact that I can't remember your name in real life, I can't remember important people's names either. But like somebody, it was like a philosopher that was like, people are going to be dumb because they can't remember anything now because it's written in pages. You're like,
well, but then now you could read things that could be not true too, and they could make you dumb. So it could be like, that's what I mean. It's like, you know, propaganda,
double-edged sword.
You know, it is true. That's the problem with a lot of the stuff is the way that things are written in language. We talk about it a lot, how language is kind of problematic, and the way that we say and express things with our language and understand things with our language is not exactly the same way other people do. And for some things, there is no word between the languages for a feeling or an expression or a thing in the world that exists. You have to, like, some languages have a word for that thing. And for us, sometimes we have to make a whole like paragraph to explain that feeling or whatever. And they call it something, you know? So it's stuff like that you can, well, they say this one word, well, it kind of means this broad answer. Well, then I'm going to add all of that really broad like text to the translation of whatever. Well, then that doesn't really fit though. So you got to kind of like make it more readable or whatever, you know what I mean? And so you take out stuff, not necessarily to change it in a way. You try to keep the integrity of it, you know, or whatever, but then later people read it and it means something different to them because of the way the words are put together. it's just interesting to me. It's really, really interesting to me how you can look at a lot of things that way.
Well, because that was a long, like for a while, there was which still like, so like texting with my dad versus texting with my mom on somebody who's learned how to like communicate. Like when my parents first started texting, it was hard to communicate with them. Whereas like when I was texting with my friends or texting like that, it was super easy for me to understand what they were trying to say. But then like mom kind of learned how to use it. And then when dad figured out how to use emojis, then the communication opened up and we could understand. Now, oh bro, he learned how to use GIFs.
It tells you exactly how he feels.
Oh, he tells you exactly how he feels with a GIF.
Interesting. That's got to be interesting.
You just envision my dad using a GIF. Yeah.
I'm just imagining his feelings that he's sending to you guys, what that would look like to him. That's the interesting part about
that. It's an interpretation.
Right? Yeah, I don't have to spaz out. I can show you this image of somebody spazzing out or whatever.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Or like for the longest time, the ... You'd be sitting there waiting on somebody to say something, and they're like, "Oh no, I was done."
That was it. Just leaving it.
You're like, "Oh, that means a cliffhanger. That means you have more to say."
No, that was it. Just letting you marinate. Thought you might need to think about it a little bit. Yeah, man. I don't know. It's really interesting. All this stuff is really cool to think about. This is the things I nerd out about on my own.
This is a fun trip into the wormhole.
This is where I live, man. This is where I live at a lot of the time if I have time to myself. That's what I'm saying. Is like that's what I do to make myself feel good, or I don't know, to try to understand how to express myself or whatever. Is like I think I heard people talking about it yesterday in this meeting. They call it deep work or whatever, where you're examining yourself and looking into all those kind of things, and there's a bunch of different things that are kind of scary when you look at them, and so people don't want to look at that stuff,
so they don't live in that. Yeah.
But I think for me, I've learned that a lot of those things are what are holding me back when I have a fear of it. There's something that's not necessarily scary about it or really dangerous about it in any kind of way. It's just like an underlying kind of thing. And so for me, I got to go out there and like conquer it, in a way, and prove that it's not something to be afraid of. And that's what we've been doing, man. And like, I want to give it all a chance for other people too, and especially other grapplers who again can't maybe the winners too, but like the guys who like really are the artist kind of people, guys and girls who are the artists like that love jiu-jitsu just because it's fun and the just community, and they don't want to go do competitions that much or ever. But they do love it and they enjoy it, and this would be a way to get them a show. You know what I mean? Like I enjoyed the show. I like being part of the show. I just do. And so for other people that are that way, or that they want to get their message or their feelings that they want to express or whatever, whatever it is, I'm interested. Like I listen to a lot of people's shows and podcasts and different things like that because I like hearing what people think and like trying to understand the world from another person's perspective is something that's really cool to me. Living out like different lives, at least.
Everyone's perspective is so different too. Like not everything that I see is what you see, and not everything you see is what I see.
Well, right? It's because we're all shaded with our experience. You're shaded with the experience you had, and I'm shaded with the experience I had. And so it's the lens that's turned now because of that. You see it as what that is for you, and I see it for what it would be for me. And if we could talk to each other about it, it's like, oh yeah, okay, I can see where you would think that's that.
Well, that's like, have you seen there was a TikTok video or something that I saw of a chick that was talking about the fact that she doesn't see people's faces. When she looks at somebody's face, there's basically just information there. And it's like it's something to do with this, but like it's in the TikTok world of like talking about people that are on the spectrum and like educating people and understanding that. And this girl is, and that's what she was talking about, is that like the best description that she used was it's like she sees the matrix like in people's face. She doesn't actually see your facial expressions. And so that's why like when she engages with people, she has to go out of her way to like do the cultural norms to where people feel comfortable to engage, because otherwise she's just blankly staring at you because she doesn't get all the facial cues and things like that. And so it's like people's brain 100% interprets the world differently in every aspect.
Yeah, that's true too. In that way, for sure. That is very interesting. And I wonder about that. You know, a lot, honestly. It's something I've thought about a lot, in the way that, you know, we experience it, like you said, based on that. And like you read, and we've heard about, or maybe you haven't, or maybe you have, but like in native people's cultures or whatever, how like schizophrenics or whatever were treated as like visionaries, or like prophets, or whatever the right word is for that, or whatever. They weren't looked at as bad or whatever. It was like seen as like a gift in some ways, to be able to live to, or whatever experience.
2 planes.
Yeah.
Basically.
And so it really is perspective too, you know, because that same person having the same experience in a different culture is a different thing
Entirely.
you know. And so the way that you see that, even based on your upbringing or your, you know, your culture, is really, really crazy, you know.
Well, that's like talking about somebody, like talking about the spectrum stuff of like, I've known quite a few that are like incredibly intelligent in like one aspect, like beyond what anybody else could be capable of. And it's like, why would that be looked at as an impairment just because there are certain things in the cultural norms that they struggle with? But then there's this like other part of their brain that's just on super fire. That's an interesting wormhole that I've been down a couple of times. It's like ADD. Like that's written off as a disease in our culture.
Yeah, and I think because it's not managed correctly.
Right.
I think that's the problem. I think we expect, and the school systems are designed to make people workers and not foster individuality and creativity in the person, and to let them be and express who they are in any way whatsoever, almost outside of the cultural norms. And being fidgety and super questioning, and having a lot of energy, and needing to move around, and daydreaming, and focusing on only the things that really interest you, or whatever, is seen as bad, because you got to do what everybody else is doing. You got to be a part of, it's like the team, or the society, or the American way, or whatever. Is like, we're all in this together and stuff. So you got to be like everybody else. The melting pot means everybody looks the same. Everybody blends, and it's all just a blend of whatever. It's all one look, though. It's all one thing. It's homogenous, I guess, is the word you could use.
Well, we haven't updated our education system since the Industrial Revolution.
Well, that was the point for it, though. Like, that's the point of public school, was to give people a chance to get ready, so people could go to work during hours.
Bell.
And then also to condition people to be ready to follow rules and orders, and have a boss basically that could tell you what to do all day, and give you orders that don't make much sense sometimes, but you got to follow because they're the authority figure and they're in control, or whatever. So
because to make the big corporation move forward and do all that, you need people to all agree and do the same thing. And that's really difficult.
You can't think outside of the box too much, or think against the grain, and slow down progress of what we're trying to do here. You know, thinking the opposite is not good, because everybody's got to be on the same page, which is not true at all, really. You know, of course, everybody needs to be on the same page, but definitely disagreeing and having your own perspective and your own opinions, and being able to do what makes you happy is really important, man. I think it's such, I don't know, man, it's such an important thing. I wish I would have been able to see all these things at a younger age, you know, so I could have been set up a little bit different, maybe. But then I wouldn't be here now and doing the, you know, that's again, you know, hindsight being 50-50 or whatever. Looking back, it's easy to say, oh, I wish I would have thought about some of this stuff younger. But I did think about some of the stuff younger than other people. And we are living a life that's closer to the thing that I kind of idealize in my mind that we would be doing, or whatever, you know. But we're still entrenched in culture and society. You know, we still live that.
Well, to some extent, you have
life.
to be. I mean, you're still inside of, like, I mean, yeah, you could go move to a homestead somewhere in the middle of Montana and live out the idea of what you're talking about. But like, to some extent, you have to be plugged into culture to
well, we don't,
to
I
exist.
don't have, yeah, exactly. I have to, at least, unless I stop doing everything that I'm doing just to go do it.
Right. That's what I'm
And so
saying.
that's the struggle with it all now, is like I enjoy what I'm doing now. You know, most of it, really. Once it slows down and I'm not in like such a frantic mode like I have been for some things. But I also would like to be able to kind of have that same thing, you know what I mean? To have the space to go do that kind of idea and be feral, you know, and just kind of exist and let the kids like be, you know, and not have to go to work every day and listen. And man, I've already heard our kids be told things by teachers or parapros or whatever, and it's just like, man, that ain't right. That ain't right. It's not.
Aren't there ways to navigate it though, to where like you can navigate the world with
They
those
have
people?
them. They have them more than we do every day.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately,
So that's the
yeah.
thing. They control the narrative when you do it that way, unless you really sit down with
Right.
them. And that's the problem that I have with a lot of it. And so I try to sit down and talk to mine. I try to have conversations with them about whatever has come up and try to explain it to them in a way that I think is what it is, you know, and you know, different things come up and you hear it phrased a certain way. And maybe you don't understand it because the way that it's taught isn't exactly what it means. You know, again, language being problematic, or what people are asking for, or what people are telling you something is, it's not exactly what it is.
Or they didn't give you the pre-information for the new information. And then,
so
yeah.
It's just always a little bit like, and it's hard. And like, you can't teach them but so much. And then, so there's such a variance in kids at such an age, you know, kind of at the same age in time. There could be a wild variance in the mental state, mental abilities, not, you know, necessarily saying good or bad, but just some people pick up things faster than other people do. So kids get labeled early as smart or slow, or, you know, dumb or fast or slow or whatever it is early.
And they just get put on a track.
But like, thinking about it, Thomas is the youngest person, my son. He's going to be one of the youngest people in his class always, because his birthday is right when they let the cutoff happen.
Yeah.
So he was like under the 5-year-old mark. I think on his first day of school, he turned 5, like right after school started. So he's like the youngest ones, but thankfully he's mentally, you know, mature in a lot of ways as far as like information and stuff like that. But he still plays and like fidgety and immature and stuff like that. Other kids in his class who were right before that were born in like July or I'm sorry, September or whatever the year before that, missed getting to school. They're almost a full year older than him, and they're in his class too. So they were almost 6 or whatever. And so that year, when you've only had a few years, is a big deal. So looking at Isaac, who's been 5 years and 11 months, versus Steven, who's been 5 years, you have a lot more information than I do.
More info.
You know how to act differently than I do. You've been, maybe if you were like, not always, right? Not everybody's learning the same things at home, but like, that's what I mean. Like, in theory, if everybody is being brought up similarly at home, then that 11 months is a big deal. And I read about it. I think I talked about it in Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell's book.
Yeah.
He mentioned it for hockey players in Canada, because the cutoff age was like at the first of the year is where you had to be. And any of the kids that were born later in the year, like, only 1 or 2 people born after July ever made like a national team in Canada, because their birthday was so much later. When they started playing, the kids who were 6 months older at 5 years old were better. Yeah. They were all better than they were. Yeah. And then the coaches were like, well, they're just all naturally better than these guys are, but they're 6 months younger at an age where 6 months is 20% of your life or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a huge chunk of time in your life. And so now we've labeled these kids as better than these other kids, but it's arbitrary because of the calendar time that we set the hard cutoff dates for people to make it, quote, fair or whatever that is. It all handicaps somebody. Every rule handicaps somebody else or affects somebody change. When you pass this, somebody else, you know what I mean? That's why there's debate on a lot of these things, because there's never a consensus. Some people will always want this, and some people will want that. Like the oil pipelines and et cetera. I'm not going to tell you where you should feel, but you either do or don't agree with that. A lot of people, you know what I mean? And so it just is what it is and how you see the world. And if it's what you think you would like, then you could do that. And if you're not, then that's fine. But then you got to just kind of deal with everybody else's stuff, no matter what, you know. And at school, when you're a child, you don't get to have an opinion most of the time. And they're just disciplining kids in a way that's sort of arbitrary or not at all. Or they're not.
Well, you're trying to keep control over an entire room of like.
Well, yeah. And again, yeah, you don't know who's had what. But then, like, you know, some kids are bullies.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
then
Yeah.
a kid gets in trouble for defending themselves now, for fighting back, or, you know, for, you know, because there's a no fighting policy or whatever. There's no tolerance for it.
Well, and I would imagine even with words, like it's hard to protect yourself.
I mean, for sure,
I
that's what I'm saying.
can imagine
Like,
being a kid right now trying to say things.
it's so
back.
hard.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that it's impossible with the social media and the technology and all that. So that's what I mean. It's like, it's really a hard thing for these kids every day. And for us, we got to be like aware of what we're doing, you know, with our kids. And dude, I struggle with it a lot personally, trying to make sure that I'm trying to do the right thing, because I do have to work a lot to make sure stuff is going, you know what I mean? Like, I got to get what we want as a family, or the things that we need, or whatever. I do need to work, or we need to just go like live on a farm somewhere and just make food and have.
That's what I mean. It's like you could remove yourself completely and just
it's right. And so
that.
it's like
there are people that do that.
And so there is a part of, that's what I mean. There's a part of me that like wants to do that thing, but I don't think that if I only did that, I'd feel like fulfilled. So it's kind of like the commune kind of idea, or the little community idea. You need
it's
like,
cute an idea. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I still want a community of people.
We're still
me.
communal.
That's
like we're like the animal part of us.
I want time to myself, and I want space to grow food and to teach my kids about that kind of stuff. And I want to be able to go and do what I want to do. And, you know, but I also want to be able to see my friends and train jiu-jitsu and teach and like be a part of a community. I do.
So it's about balance.
Yeah. Right. I think that's everything, man. You can't be too hard. You can't be too soft. You can't do it too fast. You can't do it too slow. You can't, you know what I mean? It's always that.
Because that's like majority of my childhood, and I mean, I was all the way up till 10th grade, so 15. So like all up to 15, I was homeschooled. I went to kindergarten, and then I was homeschooled from then till 15. So like, I never during those formative years got that part of the like I did when we would go to like, you know, church things and stuff like that. I would go to the kids' classes, but like the ability to like question what was being said and whatnot was never taken away from me. And that's the biggest difference that I saw as I got older, was that like, which it hindered me in some ways too. Like there were moments that wasn't a good thing.
What do you think? I guess since we're kind of down that field, what do you think that does then as far as allowing, I don't even want to say too much, but allowing questioning to the point that it could just be a waste of time kind of questioning? Do you ever felt like that was something? Is that what you're saying?
That, and it was more of just like questioning things that it would have benefited me better just to bite the bullet, do the thing, and then I could go do what I wanted. Like I didn't understand that concept until like probably my 20s, probably like my second go round at college.
Like, you have to do it. Just shut up.
Like that was my second go at college was like, oh, okay, until I do this thing and check this off the box, I'm always going to have this question come back up. So, all right, I'll just bite the bullet and do it. And so I did it the fastest way that I could, and I did it the way that I wanted to. And I think that's what that background gave me, was the ability to go, okay, you want me to do your thing? All right, I'm still going to do it my way and it's going to get done, but I'm going to do it this way so that I benefit. Whereas like more of my friends that went the more traditional route, it was more of like they trudged through and then, you know, at some point figured out what they wanted to do. But like I had this question pop in my head while you were talking about this, of like, I heard somebody talking about like, yeah, we talk about living our dreams or doing the things and whatnot, but there's like jobs and things out there that have to be done. Like there's things that people have to do. Where do you find the balance, and like, how do you instill that in your kids of like, you can be this happy and still have something that you have to do that's not necessarily the pleasant thing, because not everything's going to be happy go lucky.
Well, not everything I'm
that.
doing right now is either.
Right. That's what I'm saying. There's stuff you had to do.
Like I still have to. And like I just, and there's nothing wrong with learning to follow.
Yeah.
When it's time to follow. There's nothing wrong with that. The best leaders fall in line when it's not their time to be in charge. So there's nothing wrong with doing what everybody else is doing if it's the right thing to do. And so, like, I guess I think I'm answering that question in the way, like, I want to give them the opportunity to know how to lead, but then also when to get out of the way. Like, that's the hard part. I think a lot of kids, you either just are or aren't at school and different things like that. And I don't even know if this is the same thing we were talking about. Sorry, your question.
No, you're still on topic.
Okay. But either you are or you aren't, and the teachers don't necessarily have time to foster
each and every
thing in each kid. Each kid is who they are. They come as they are, and you try to do your best. Like, I'm sure teachers do your best. If you're a teacher, I'm sorry if I'm making it sound like you don't do your jobs well. That's not what I mean. There's just so many children. It's hard for
the system's not set up to help you. Yeah.
Nobody should care as much about your kids than you do in their education and what they're learning and stuff like that. So I appreciate the teachers that are teaching them things, because it is very tough to teach some of the things that they're learning at school to them, because it's tough without the education on some of that stuff. But at the same time, a lot of that they don't need to know yet. A lot of that they don't have to do. Maybe they don't need that many hours a day at school. Maybe they need a half a time. Maybe
and a lot of times they're not teaching skills. They're teaching testing. Like
right.
That
yeah,
the
exactly.
Majority of your
memorization,
how to regurgitate, how to so that they get funding, so that the schools can stay. And that doesn't teach a kid.
You're not learning stuff.
Right.
Like, I know a bunch of stuff I can't do for that same reason. I'm super educated on a lot of stuff, but there's no application to it. There's no real like skills, kind of like the answer to your like the dirty jobs thing, I guess, kind of. Yeah. Like, I love history and reading about like weird history things or whatever. But for me right now, there is no money. There's no job for me as a history professor or whatever, because I didn't do the work to get a degree in it or earn a, whatever certificate to be a history professor. I could start a podcast because I enjoy it though.
Yeah.
And like do history podcasts if I really, really wanted to. So like I can still
turn it into a job and look, now there's a passion.
And so then there's the thing is like, there's a way to do that.
That's not going to be easy. There's going to be terrible things you have to do.
You have to eat some crap to make things work sometimes. And either it is, you got to pay the man sometimes to be in the game. Like, you got to pay to play. You got to buy in to the system.
That's the world that exists.
It's quid pro quo. It is what it is. But once you're in, now they can't kick you out. Right. And that's kind of where I'm at now. It's like, it took me, man, I'll be 39 in 2 weeks, something like that. Getting old and
knocking on it.
Not compared to other people, right? They're like 39 or whatever. But like, to me, man, this is about the limit that I ever imagined for myself as a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is getting close to the end of the time for me, to be honest. And so I never had a plan to make it past 40 as a kid. Like, I never thought about life as a grandpa or anything like that, what that would look like or any stuff. I don't know. And so it's just kind of weird. But now I have the opportunity here. It took me this long to get here, and now I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. And like, people can argue and disagree or whatever, but I'm still doing it the way I want to do it. And it's frustrating that people can't see it that way. And it's frustrating when I want something and everybody tells me something else. But this is mine. This is my art now. This is my expression. Everything that I'm trying to do now, it's my thing. It's what I want. It's what makes me happy. Every single time I do it, I'm trying to do the thing that makes me the most happy. And I found, if I'm doing those things, I'm more able and willing to help other people do those things for themselves as well.
Your cup's full.
But if I'm not able to do that stuff for myself, if I can't get what I quote want, and that sounds really selfish, but I don't mean it in that way.
You can't pour tea from an empty cup.
But if I don't feel fulfilled, then I can't give you fulfillment. I can't share the riches and bounty of life if I feel like I don't have it. And so for me now, this big space, and man, I spent way too much money on like getting the roof to be black because it had the white ceiling tile with the gray like old stuff, and it looked fine, like compared to every other ceiling grid that you've ever seen in a building. It was fine, man. But like I wanted it black because I thought it would look really cool and it would make me happy if it was that way. And so we did it, and it did. It made me really happy. And some of the people that were like unsure about how it would turn out are like, this does look really nice. I do think this looks good, you know? And like I had to just kind of do it though. And I had to spend the money on it on my own to make it happen. And maybe I shouldn't have, but now it's done and I won't feel bad about it again.
Well, what's
I can
the goal?
make the money back.
Is it? I was gonna say, is the goal monetary, or is the goal to make it like into
I
the
want
piece
to make
that you
it
want?
happy. Like, I want to make me happy. I want to make it the thing that's going to make me every day when I walk in. I want to be proud. Like every day I want to walk in and be proud of myself. I've said that before. Yeah. And so doing that, yeah, I didn't have to, right? I don't have to do a lot of the things I do. I don't have to go the extra mile on anything. I could always do the bare minimum on everything, but then I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't be the person that you all allegedly appreciate and like or whatever. If I stop doing the things that I do, if I stop being me, then the whole thing is different now. And so like I have to do those things. I have to have that like time to like be with myself and like figure out the thoughts I have.
So how are you showing
like,
that to like Thomas?
I'm trying to do that and to say things, to say out loud what's happening when I'm in those moments, because it becomes almost like a crisis at home, you know, with the kids or whatever. And then this is where a lot of parents and kids probably are fighting, is because the disconnect right here between burnout. You know, like he just wants to be with me or whatever, or Charlie too, you know, they just want to be with me when I'm home because I'm busy. But I also want to like have some time to like think about things and chill out a little bit too when I'm at home. But when they're there, no matter what, they want my attention. And so it's kind of hard. And so I try to say that, hey, I need some time to try to think or to focus, or
that's back to the
trying to do
recovery,
some
like,
work.
yeah.
It's like, I'm not trying to be mean to you, but the more that we're doing this, it's making me be mean to you in a way that I'm not really able to stop right now. And I'm sorry. You know, I even say, I'm sorry. I don't know how to control this, but I just need the time to sit by myself, or I need you to let me just be by myself for a little while, please.
Yeah. So, I can only imagine what like trying to go off and meditate or take a nap or do something.
We ask them for quiet time. Yeah. We ask them, just please give us quiet time.
Do you teach them quiet time? Like, hey, go take yours.
We ask them. Yeah. Thomas understands now. He'll lay down and take a nap. He goes and takes his time. Yeah. And he'll go take quiet time. And he's usually a nap when he's in there. He'll lay down and be the book or whatever. Now he's getting pretty good about it. Charlie's like a no limit soldier. She don't give up about nothing. She's ready
to go. 5 a.m. Let's go.
Just rebel. Just rebel. Whatever she's gonna beat her
whatever
own
she
drum.
wants to do. She's like, no, I'm gonna do the opposite.
Sleep in, whatever it is, or just get caught up in her own
that's
world.
Gonna be fun in about 10 years.
And so like, but that's the thing, is like, I don't want to stifle her either,
because that's maybe part of her creativity.
That's who she is in a way, and like we're trying to like navigate. And again, they had a different life, man. Yeah. He's been like such a summer child for like, you know, like everything's been great for Thomas. He came into the world where me and Mandy were both just like basically newlyweds, still been married for about a year. We were really excited, you know, about everything in our future or whatever. We wanted to have a baby when we were like actively like super excited, and I wanted a son first. So it was perfect. So he came into the world like super like easy, with tons of love from our family, because he was the first one of either one of our child. My sister had only had girls, so she was really excited to have a little boy in the family, you know, so he just got everything easy. He was never sick, never any kind of nothing, never like, I didn't even know why people talk about kids getting sick sometimes. Like, honestly, like I was so spoiled by how good it was for him that when Charlie was born, she had some sickness. She has allergies that are pretty tough. She's like, for one instance, allergic to grass. So like, we didn't know that. And then she has eczema, she has some asthma, and they all like combine in whatever this thing is that as an autoimmune something in her, and they combine. And when she was a baby, it was intolerable for her. She never slept. She'd pull her hair out. She'd scratch her face. And Like it was just crazy. And so she was uncomfortable the first 2 years of her life, probably the whole time.
Until you figured
until we got the right doctors to figure it
yeah.
out. So she's had this like
trial a little
yeah,
bit.
she grew up hard. She's been hard already. Like he's never had to get hard ever for anything. Still, really.
Never had to like tough it out.
He's toughed it out at jiu-jitsu and stuff like that now.
But
in
like
the way,
in
but
life,
like in life, like she almost died. She was in the hospital and almost died from a staph infection from her eczema getting infected.
So bad.
Nobody knew that they wouldn't. We weren't at the doctor's office, but they were like, "Oh, she's probably just sick," and we didn't know enough about what skin infections look like yet. And this is why I know so much about skin infections.
Yeah.
And you guys see me like freak out about skin stuff. This is why. But like we spent probably I can't remember, baby. Manny could know better, but like she was in there for 3 or 4 days in the hospital, and one of us was there, and I was like with Thomas, or she was with Thomas, and I was trying to still teach or work or whatever because we needed, some income and stuff. And it was a really, really tough time for our family when Charlie was a baby because we were in San Diego. We didn't have a ton of money. So we were paying all these co-pays. We had insurance, but it's $40 a doctor. So we would go downstairs to one doctor and they were like, "Oh, she needs to go to her dermatologist." Well, that's another $40 to go upstairs for another copay. And then that doctor's like, "Oh, she needs to go to the hospital." Well, then that's another ER visit on top of the copay and top of the copay.
Medication.
And then she's 6, we're missing work.
Oh, that didn't work. Let's try a different one.
Eating out every day and driving back and forth. And like, it was tough on our family. It was really, really hard on us for the first part of her life. So they've grown up differently, even though they're in the same family and they both loved and, whatever, but she's had it hard. And so now she's been babied, I guess, in a way that people would say.
Because things were going tough.
She's spoiled.
So, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I do, dude. Anything that bothers her, it upsets me bad. If she's hurt, I'm starting to tear up now thinking about it. Like,
yeah.
She gets sick, everything just really affects me deeply because she's almost died already.
Yeah.
And it's real. Like we sat there and it was like a thing. It's like we didn't know. We really didn't know.
Yeah.
At a point. And he never had to deal with that. And so we've had to explain that to him too. Because he was like, I want some medicine.
Because she sees the attention.
She's getting something. He doesn't get that. We're holding her and like, affectionate or whatever. Please take this and like da. And he didn't. And so it's like, man, you don't want this, dude.
You don't want to walk the path she's walking. Yeah.
You're better than what she's at right now. Like, and I don't mean like you're better than her, but like you're lucky.
You're lucky to not have to.
So lucky, man. And we were ignorant with, like that's what I'm saying. It's like I was so ignorant. I was just like, I don't get it. Kids don't get that sick, man, or whatever. And like, why are people tripping or whatever? And it's like, oh, okay, you ask and you'll find out, And so now I had to humble myself quite a bit in the way that the world is, and I understand a lot more about family and what it really, really means when your child is sick or whatever is happening with them, because it's different. It's different when it's a child on TV or the news or you hear or read about it.
Or somebody else's.
When you are in the hospital and she's attached to machines and you can't get in the bed with her to hold her, it or she's just laying there and you think she's dying in your arms. That's different, man. That's different.
Yeah. Yeah. It blows my mind about like how it affects siblings too. I mean, like through all my stuff. Like
he was pretty young, but yeah.
It's crazy. Like and what I was gonna say is that like it'll be later in life that all of a sudden you'll notice a relationship between them, because my sisters and I have like crossed that bridge.
They're already
in
ways that we didn't see recently. They're already starting to act different towards
like a
each
different
other
kind of homie
as they're getting more mature. Even she just still hates him.
Oh yeah, that'll go on for a while.
Oh no,
that'll
for sure. That's
what
I'm saying. She still hates him, and he tries to be nice, and she hates him even more for trying to be nice.
He's breathing out my window,
and then he's trying to blame her for every little thing that might be sus. It's like, oh, that was Charlie, or she asked me to do that, or whatever.
She said that.
Yeah, we're at that stage of stuff. So they hate each other, but then they'll be laying on the blanket watching TV together or whatever, and like hugging each other when they didn't see each other for a few days. He was waiting for her to walk in the door so he can give her a hug, but he hates her.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, all right, we're working on it. And like, he went and spent the weekend over at one of our friends' house at Morgan's, and because I was working on the gym a lot, and Mandy and Charlie were out of town, and Morgan brought him back. He's like, man, he's such a good kid, man. When he's just like so easy to deal with and easy to get along with, and like no trouble whatsoever. And I was just like, all right. I mean, I guess that's right.
Yeah.
That's good. And that's one of the things I read about a lot when I was reading a lot about being a parent. Is like your kids are going to test you more than anybody else because you're the safest place to test those boundaries. And so they gotta bump up against that stuff somewhere.
Yeah.
And the safest place is with us. And so we have to learn to navigate that without going overboard with our reactions to their boundary testing or whatever.
So is that where you wind up with like the kid out in public that's acting up and stuff? I guess is that like they can't bump up at home, so they're gonna bump up against teachers. They're gonna bump up against
or they have been bumping up against it at home and nobody's doing anything about it.
Yeah,
so it's one way or the other.
One or the other. They either don't have it or they don't have.
Or it's two again. Balance. It's about the balance. Like I want to check them. I don't want to be physical with them when I'm doing this. If they're having an emotional moment, I don't need to get physical with them about their emotional moment. You got to try. That's another thing about the talking to them and like, hey, what's wrong with you? Like, are you mad? Are you sad? Are you hurt? Why are you doing this thing? I'm mad because of, if you're just mad, man,
let's figure out how to work
I
through it.
Understand that you're mad, but listen, this ain't the thing to be mad about, because of some try to rationale, or whatever, or you're sad. Okay, why are you sad? Well, then we can explain a reason why, that's valid. The way you feel is always valid. It just doesn't mean that you get to be right because you feel a certain way. Like you can't have what you want because you feel like it. Like sometimes your feelings are just a feeling. You've got to accept that you're not going to get what you want. And it's really hard for me as a kid who grew up always thinking that when I got older, I was like, I'm gonna get my kids everything they ever want, to not like rely on that in certain ways to like just
that's not the answer.
Over pacify. And so like, we did that with Thomas a little bit. I was too soft with him in that way. And so I had to like bring it back in a little bit and be like, all right, man, listen, you got to like follow instructions. You know what I mean? Like you can't just be out here acting crazy, still never had to get physical with him or whatever and whatever. And I really try not to do the isolation, like punishment either. Like we do the quiet time, but I rarely try to use it as a way that's like, this is punishment. It's like, hey, we're all getting out of hand. Let's take some time. I'm going to go catch a nap and I'll probably feel better. And hopefully you'll feel better after that. But at least after this break, I'll feel better to come back, and work through this stuff and not just like, man, just get away from me, dude, and go just get in your room. You just leave them in there or whatever and no explanation. And they just feel like you hate them and life sucks. They may still feel that way after you give a little bit of an explanation, but then
at least at some point they have that full circle.
And then after the break, they come back and it's like, oh, hey, bud, whatever. It's like, oh, hey, you give them a hug and everything. You just don't even have to bring it up again. You know what I mean? Just let it. That was in this time. Now we're in now. Yeah. It's like, it's hard though, because you remember everything that they've done. It's kind of like being with a spouse. It's like, oh, last week you were a little jerk too, huh? You just think you're being disrespectful now. It's like, man, they're not even thinking about last week.
Yeah.
This is just another thing. But to you, it's like, oh, you starting to be disrespectful. It's like, no, they're just questioning things right now. And it feels disrespectful because you want them to be obedient. And, there's all those different things that are going on all the time. And so I don't know if I want obedience. That's a word that bothers me a lot. Like I want them to do what I'm asking them to do. So I guess that is obedience, but it's not just because I want it. There's a reason I want it. And so I need to express that reason to them. You know what I mean? And so obedience to what I'm asking because there's a good reason for it, not just because I say so or because it's going to piss me off if you do the other thing.
So what is punishment? Like what is like for the modern?
Most recently, it's like, hey man, you can't have your TV or no video games. Why are you having this outburst? Every time you have the video games, you spaz out about it. So we're taking the video games away for a while. We'll figure out more stuff to do. He accidentally or whatever, he would go in and kick his like dresser sometimes, playing, or either when he would get mad and during one of these times, I don't know which one actually was the thing, and it didn't matter. He knocked his TV off of his thing, and it broke it. And so he was like, I want to get a new TV. It's like, well, you gotta figure out how to earn some money to get one. And so he's up to like $60 or $70 or something now, and that's been a few months. And so if he does something, we'll pitch him a couple bucks for it or whatever, and we'll add it to his total. And when he gets up to the number that we told him to get the TV, we're gonna get him another TV. But he doesn't have a TV right now, and we have a TV in the living room. And if me and Mandy want to watch it, then he's got to let us have it, you know. And if nobody's watching it, then I'll let him watch stuff in there then. But if we want to watch it, then it's like, no, man, you don't have the privilege of this one.
Consequences
right?
to your actions.
Charlie has a TV in her room. Can I watch Charlie's TV if she lets you?
Right.
You know, Charlie, do you care if he goes in there and watches TV with you? Yes or no? And sometimes she'll say either or. And it's like, there you go, man. No, you know.
Yeah.
So that's just is what it is, you know, and trying to teach the natural. You broke your TV. This thing costs a lot of money, man. Yes, we probably have enough money to buy you another TV, you know, if we want to. But you're going to have to do without it for a little while and understand that, like, I have to work for this stuff. Like, you want me to be here more, right? Well, we need less stuff then. Like, I don't need to spend more money
for the
like,
money. Yeah.
Daddy makes money with his jiu-jitsu stuff. So all the jiu-jitsu stuff I do is to make money for us to buy the house and the food. Like, I have those conversations, but like,
this is a job.
You break the TV. Now I have to buy your TV. That's, well, you know, that's several hours of work or whatever I have to do in order to get that TV. And, you know, it just is what it is. So trying to teach, again, like age appropriate as I can think of, like answers, real world stuff. Don't lie about where babies come from when they ask you, or the truth about anything, you know, the police or getting pulled over, or don't lie to your kid about you're going to call the police on them or make the police be like bad guys for like behavior for your kid.
I'm going to leave you with him.
Like, I've told Thomas that his behavior in certain situations, like if you are just reckless and you don't care what anybody says and you don't listen to any rules, you will end up in jail. Yes.
That's how that works.
Like when you get older. Yeah. So listen,
at a very basic scale.
So that's what I'm trying to say, man. Like, I'm trying to get you to understand, listen, you know, you're not going to go to jail for this thing, but if you keep just blatantly doing whatever you want and breaking the rules that we have, when you get older, they're going to arrest you for stuff like that. You will end up in jail for stuff like that. So we have a hard time with him because now still with the TV, like he'll get up in the morning. He likes to wake up before everybody else does, and he'll start watching TV in the living room. Well, we'll catch him in there. I wake up to go teach class, you know, early, and he'll be up there. He'll wake up sometimes at like 5 o'clock and be wanting to watch TV or whatever. Or I'll wake up at 6 and he's in there already watching whatever on TV. Well, we've put the remote away a few different times. And like the other day, I put it up on top of like one of the counters. And when I came out in the morning, he was watching the TV, and I was like, man, I know I put this thing like way up there. I was like, how did you get that? He's like, I climbed up there and got it. It's like, so you purposefully, knowing that I put it up there so you wouldn't have it, climbed up there and got it and turned the TV back on to start watching TV this early in the morning. And we've already talked about waking up. This, like, you need to try to lay back down and go to sleep, man. Like, everybody wakes up, you know, like that. But that doesn't mean it's immediately time to get up and run on the computer or on TV or your phone. Like, yeah, I try to go back to sleep. The only reason I stay awake is because I have to go to work.
I have things I gotta go do.
I just go to work, and like, or otherwise used to my anxiety. And so like, as I would just wake up and I didn't realize, I just felt like I needed to be doing stuff. Well, now I don't. If I can stay in the bed, I'll just lay there and just go back to sleep for another hour. I can't.
Maybe when he's a little older, like start taking him to jiu-jitsu at that time.
He's gone.
Yeah, he has been there.
Yeah, he's done it. Yeah, and that's another thing he did when he was in San Diego. He went with me a lot. He'd either wake up with me and go, or Mandy would bring him like at 7 o'clock or 6:30 or whatever. He'd stay with me for 4 or 5 hours at the gym.
Yeah.
During the day. So that's what I mean, is like he's had a lot of real world experience in that way. And Charlie never quite did, because I couldn't take 2 of them, and then she was kind of sick, and so she couldn't be up there anyway, hanging out, because then she needed too much attention. So kids are weird, man. Having a family's hard. And it's a part of everybody that has a family's existence. And so you have to treat them that way, you know. And if people don't care about their families, then they're probably not that great of people to be around. So like now, understanding when somebody says that they legit have a family thing that they need to do, you know, then you got to kind of give grace to those people, you know, not saying every time, like if you have a shitty family, leave them alone. But like, you know, I mean, if you love your family, like your family, you're taking care of them and different things like that. That's what I mean. Like you got to take care of your people, but you don't have to stay in bad situations just because people are family. I guess I mean say that also.
Yeah, like the extended family and the
This is one of the things.
stuff
That's
over
another
there,
one of the things we try to teach our kids too. Is like they have their own rights to themselves, their bodies. They don't have to hug or kiss anybody if they don't want to hug or kiss anybody or let anybody hug them or any stuff like that. No matter who they are.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of like your generation of parents that are, like, I guess, my age or older, talking a lot about that.
Well, because you're teaching them one way, either you are or you are not teaching them body autonomy. Like they have the right to control who is in touching their body in a way that makes them feel comfortable or uncomfortable. It's like, you know, the Santa Claus thing or whatever. You could take your kid to Santa Claus to sit on his lap or whatever, but if the kid's freaking out to me, I don't like that. I don't think that's cool.
always been a weird thing.
You shouldn't do it. You know,
why are you forcing this kid?
Charlie and Thomas have done it now that they've gotten older because they asked to and they really wanted to and they were hyped up.
I want to go see Santa,
but neither one of them have ever been forced to do it, crying or whatever.
Right.
That to me is similar because you're like teaching the child, hey, I don't care about your feelings, man. I'm just going to give you to this stranger and you got to sit on their lap. You got to let them hug you. You got to give them a kiss because they're older or because they're whoever. And that's how kids get abused because their uncle or this older person who's somebody you have to respect did something and, oh, well, you're supposed to just let adults do whatever. That's the one thing I understand. I don't understand what else is happening, but I understand that you let adults do whatever they need to do because they're in charge.
Because they're saying they're supposed to, even though it's like, oh, this isn't right.
Nope. Nope. If it's wrong, it's wrong. It doesn't matter who's doing it, and you got to know that. And when your children are young, that's the time to teach them stuff like that because they won't forget it if you're teaching them at a young age. If you have to learn that kind of stuff later, it may be too late. Stuff's already happened, and then the lesson's really hard. Then it hurts a lot worse. So, yeah, some of our family's been uncomfortable before because we've told them that kind of stuff. It's like, sorry. But then now I've seen people who came after us, they enforce the same rules. You know, I was the weirdo outlier when I first came in the game. And now it's like, oh,
there was a reason.
Seems to be that this was correct.
Yeah.
You know, and like, it doesn't mean that I'm right and that they're wrong. It just means that this seems to be a better way now. And maybe everyone would benefit from a more balanced approach to this kind of stuff. It's like, hey, there's Uncle Isaac. Do you want to, you know, he wants a hug. And it's like, I don't want to give him a hug. It's like, all right, cool. Yeah. It's like, hey, Uncle Isaac wants a hug. Like, Uncle Isaac. You know, and they want to go give you a hug. It's like dope. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I asked Charlie, can I give you a kiss? You know?
Right.
Yeah. Uh-huh. She always wants it, you know, so it's never like a no, but I still ask. And if she ever said no, I would not do it, you know?
Well, and like, I mean, people I've heard a lot talk about the fact that like the daughter is like the dad is the man that they'll date.
Sets the tone.
Sets the tone.
Exactly.
So, like, oh, if you're this way, then it's like,
yeah,
there's all those little things like to like love on Andy a little more. Like when he had, when his daughter, funny enough, Charlie as well.
Good name.
But when she got old enough to where she was talking and whatnot, I was like, dude, she is so smart. And he was like, bro, I've talked to her like she was an adult since she was like
no baby
this
talk.
big.
No
like,
baby talk. We
like,
never did that. And if anybody else would come up to them and start speaking incorrectly, we would tell them to stop. Yeah. And people would be like, wow, like, why are you doing that? It's like, because you're teaching them incorrectly. Yeah. That's why people grow up stunted, because people teach them stunted stuff.
They treat them like a child. They treat them like
they are going to be a human one day.
That's a tiny adult.
They're going to be an adult. I mean,
that's a tiny adult.
They are human. Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Turns out they come out as human.
One day, if you teach them language, they become human. But that's the thing, man. It's like, and I'm not perfect, dude. I mess it up a lot, and I think maybe I do a really good job. Sometimes I think I'm messing it up, but that's me as a person. That's my thing. That's how I do what I do. Is I always think that I could do better. Like, it's not that I'm not happy or that I can't settle, but I always want to do better than I did if I do it again or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I always want to do my best even. So I think it's that same thing. I just want to instill that into my kids, the trying, you know, putting in the effort, and kind of like we talked about, making the walk when you feel scared or whatever. Don't immediately run. You know what I mean? Sometimes that thing is the thing that's the thing that you have to do. Like you call the what is that journey? The impossible journey, you know. Sometimes that's the thing, you know, that monster. You have to go all the way into the cave to actually see it doesn't exist, man. But it's scary. The dark is scary, right? But you got to go. You got to know there's nothing there, and the only way to know is to go into it, you know. And so trying to arm them with information that'll help them in the dark is our job, not to necessarily 10 feet in front of them, because that's handicapping them.
Not giving them the whole picture.
They gotta know, man. They gotta know the good and the bad.
Yeah.
They gotta understand what life is like.
They can't they can't go around thinking that it's all horrible, but they also can't go around thinking that it's all rainbows and unicorns too.
I mean, because you see the situation with Russia and stuff like that right now, and like that we've been at war for most of our lives in some form or fashion, just not on our ground, you know. But depending on where you live in America, you may feel like you live in a war zone. There's people probably out there shooting in certain places almost every day, you know. So thankfully, my kids don't have that existence right now, but there could be a day that does happen.
Well, they need to understand.
And they need to understand that, and they need to understand being strong people, and that, you know, strong people sometimes have to do hard things. You know what I mean? To protect other people, and like that's why we are the way we are, is because we are the strong people if we can be the strong people. But you know, it's really hard. It's really, really hard. But I think that's every parent right now could say that same thing. I don't think any parents out here touting how easy it is to be a good parent. I don't know that I've ever really seen that from somebody who's being honest. I think everybody who's trying to be a good parent really thinks it's hard because there's no real answer to it. And by the time you've had kids and they've gotten old enough to experience problems, you've experienced a similar problem, but now it's advanced technologically or whatever, and so it's not exactly the same problem you've dealt with anymore.
Oh, bro, raising a kid right now in the technological era, if I'd had access to Google at the power that it's at now.
I just know already when stuff was coming out how little I knew versus the nothing that the adults in my life knew that made me the technology guy or whatever, you know, in our family when I was a kid or whatever. And like now I'll sit down with Thomas when he's doing stuff and we'll talk about things or whatever he's doing, and he explains it to me or whatever. And it's like, what? And it's just so just like, oh,
you're so far.
It's like, I don't even have any clue about how to do that, but you just explained it to me, and it seems like that's how it's working.
Kids have the amazing advantage of time.
Well, just they don't have any preconceived idea.
Yeah, it doesn't say they don't have to be retaught.
Nobody's told them yet stuff.
It's their first
they
time.
have to know, you know. And we let him explore interest, whatever he's like thinking about, people or ideas or whatever. I got him one of those big Ripley books, like the whatever. And
I wanted a mohawk when I was probably.
He loves reading.
How old is he now?
He's those facts. 7. He'll be
7. 8. So I was like 6, so a little younger than
him.
Had
a mohawk.
And I wanted a mohawk. My mom made me go research why Native Americans had mohawks.
See, it's cool, man. We do stuff like that. Used to, when he had access to video games a lot more, to play them, he would need to do like some squats or some push-ups or some jumping jacks. Or
have you seen these like stationary bikes for kids that like powers the video games?
Thing? Yeah. Sketchy, but
I feel like that's a little bit of a game.
I see if you live in a city or whatever and you can't really get outside a lot, it's not easy to get out and be on a bike or whatever and stuff like that. And I could totally see that as a thing, no like hate, but
my parents wouldn't buy me anything with an engine. I could power it with my legs.
I mean, they're smarter than.
They also knew that if they gave this boy an engine, like a dirt biker, so all my friends were getting dirt bikes. I want a dirt bike. I would just go ride their dirt bikes because, I would have died.
Yeah, or tore it all up too. That's the thing, man. Just learning. We're all learning. They're learning. Nobody knows anything. Time is a lie. I forgot all that stuff Andy said earlier, so I'm gonna go back and listen to it on my way home. This has been a very enlightening conversation today. I really wanted to dabble into the art idea with you today. We kind of talked about that, and I
We
guess
did a little.
the art. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Is like I think that this is what art is to people: is these concepts and ideas and
The expression
the
of them.
social structures of things and what you think versus what I think and what's right and what's wrong and is there a right and a wrong. You know, it's like things just exist beside each other sometimes, and neither one has to be right or wrong. They just are. I mean, I think that's the beauty of this, and I think that as a teacher, that's what I get to teach through my jujitsu is that kind of stuff. That's, of course, I can teach people how to fight and like win tournaments, and of course, but it's the people. I'm trying to be like to teach the people to be more like, I don't know what the right word is, but more of whatever they want. You know what I mean? That there's still more, even if you felt like you've been bumped up against, you know, your ceiling or whatever, that there's still more. And kind of like we were talking about, you can always just like do your own thing in your free time or in the extra time that you think you have or in the time that you can create for it. Like make time to do the thing that you want to do, or you're not going to get to do it.
I think you can find the combination of like what we're talking about through mastery. Like, I think that's what you're saying is like through art.
That's what I mean. Like,
the jiu-jitsu is a form of art.
And all of that. And like some people, their significant others, like giving them a hard time about coming to training or whatever, or, you know, you go too much, you need to stop, or man, you got injured, you're going to get injured again if you go to jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. You know, yeah, and that's a thing, right? And those are real life things that people deal with. And are you going too much? I don't know. I don't think anybody goes too much. Probably, I think people probably train too hard sometimes or whatever. But I don't know that you can go to jiu-jitsu too much in and of itself. But if you're not taking care of other things, then maybe you are. You know, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. And like, could you get injured? Definitely, we could all get injured for sure. Or do you take as much like steps to be safe as possible, as much as you can
to mitigate that risk, recovery,
exactly, like
warming up.
Then that's the answer to that question. Do you need to go hard every day? No, man, no. But a lot of people feel like every day has got to be proving grounds, every day is training day or whatever, and it's like, not really, man.
Well, you can't have a long, like if you're seeking the longevity, you can't have that. You can't have both.
There's no season.
Yeah.
So that's the part. Like, and I was speaking with Zach Carey about that this morning. They're doing a tournament in Jacksonville. They've got like 64 guys in that blue belt.
Oh, that blue belt, like extravaganza.
Like, what would you do? And it's like, man, you got to be in shape for that, right? To win 6 matches in a day or whatever that is. Yeah, I think it's 6. Yeah. So like conditioning is going to be really, really important. Like, and because you may need to sprint or you may need to slow down, and then you may need to recover, and then you may need, you know, you don't know exactly what's going to happen. So you need to be physically prepared for all of the possibilities.
For anything to go down.
Your jiu-jitsu is going to be able to get a little bit better between now and then, right? So focus it on tightening up the things you like to do, I guess. But overall, you need to focus on being healthy and in shape to sustain. And then I made sure to caution, that doesn't mean start killing yourself every day for the next 3 months. That means let's strategically start getting the rounds in, the rounds up, the work up, you know.
Because you need those hard days.
Yeah. Like
if competing
that's what I'm saying is like, but then when you hit the wall, we can't do it today.
Don't push through
like, today's not the day then. Like you're going to pull something, you're going to do whatever, and it's going to make the rest of the whole camp worse. And you're going to perform poorly because you didn't rest 1 day, 6 weeks out.
Sounds like my man needs a whoop strap.
Listen, man, we're not sponsored by Whoop, but Isaac keeps dropping them. So if you got a Whoop strap, you'll know.
I can recommend you. I can give you a recommendation.
If you do not feel good every day, something's wrong.
Yeah.
You need to rest. You need to change your diet. You may need new water or more water.
More water.
Like there could be a few things.
Sleep and water have been the two biggest
water
ones.
And diet are the 3 things that affect those things for most people, unless you have a condition that you're aware of, that you know, or maybe you have a condition that you're not aware of, that you don't know. You know what I mean? But typically you're not getting enough water. You're not getting enough nutrition in the right way.
Are you doing everything else right also?
So that's the biggest thing. And it's really hard to explain that to everybody because everybody wants to be like, no days off or whatever. Well, turn your no days off into like a recovery day is still the work.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that is still doing the work. You got to remember that. Don't look at it like I'm not training today. I'm not doing anything. Do an active recovery or do a rest day where you lay around and let yourself just be like chill and whatever. And then
if you have to train a roll, there's ways to do it and it not be like you can
don't have
technique,
to win
can,
every
yeah.
round. You don't have to try to go hard every time. You don't, you know what I mean? There's like,
Because that
there's-
doesn't make your jiu-jitsu better. We
Not
just had that
always.
conversation.
not always like
Going harder
sometimes-
doesn't make it better.
Sometimes it makes you sharper and it makes it like timing and whatever when you're rolling
In
and
that
whatever and
sense,
stuff.
yeah.
But that's what I mean. It's like, but not always. You can't always just add harder to it. Harder is only one element. And most people who are competitors don't always need harder. Most of them who are really into it, they're already going pretty hard. They're already maxed out on effort, almost. They need to max out the effort on balance, probably. Less damage to yourself is better. And that's everything, man. It's really hard. Like as I said, it's like last week was tough for me. I'm feeling it. Like I'm still feeling it right now. I'm trying to take that time. I took time this morning for the first time before we came up here, and I just kind of played Fortnite a little bit to kind of zone out before I left the house to come up here because I've been so just like in the world of construction stuff. I just needed to kind of check out a little bit before I started coming back over to here. So I don't know. I feel it when it starts to happen. Like I feel it, and I don't know how to stop it always, you know, because I can't always stop it because stuff has to be done, you know. And so I think with time and the knowledge I have, I'm going to find the balance with people around me feeling the things that I think I need to be doing, other people can do. I got to do a better job of accepting that, and having other people also just step in and do things is a thing. Like a lot of people want you to tell them everything to do. And I don't really want to tell everybody everything to do all the time. Like there's some things that need to be done generally. So get them done in a way that works, and I'll be okay with it. But if I come up with the plan and the plan's not executed the way I want, then that frustrates me. You know, does that make
Right.
So it's like you do it, and if we need to tweak it a little bit, then we can tweak it a little bit. You know, and I'm not going to be mad with you or whatever unless you just do something completely like ass backwards or whatever. But generally, it's good enough. And so like I can accept that from people if they don't make me put too much input into it. But if you want my input, well, it's my project now. Kind of like then it's really I'm invested. So now I need this. I need this. Yeah, I need something out of this now. But typically, if you just do it, it's fine. I don't care. You've seen that from me a lot too. It's like, what do you want to do with this? It's like, or you'll send me something. It's like, does this really work with what we're doing? And you'll be like, well, I was thinking about this. And it's like, oh, okay. That's not what I was thinking about. All right. Works. Yeah. You know, because like, I was just thinking about, I would want it to be more grand or like, because I'm always thinking about bigger and better. And you were like, no, I think this is the right move. And it's like, okay, that perspective actually sounds pretty cool. Yeah. You know? And so like, I'm totally trying to be that way with all the stuff that I have going on. And that's what I'm trying to tell the people that we're bringing on to work with us at the gym is like, listen, man, I'm not telling you that I'm going to always do what you say when you tell me stuff.
But if you think you have a better way,
please
present it.
Please don't let me like waste time. And then later you be like, man, I knew we should have did it another way. But you didn't say that, man.
Speak up.
Like if you have a way, I'll listen. And if it sounds better to me, then I'll accept it. And sometimes your way may be better, but you didn't explain it to me that in a way that made me want to listen to it too. So that's the thing too. It's tact. So everybody's got to learn how to communicate with each other. You can't just force.
Well, okay, I didn't communicate it well. Let me go back and reframe it and then come back and present it again. Right? No, not that. All right. Then we won't do that.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know.
Either way.
It is what it is.
Tune in.
It's art. April. It's art. April.
Art. Ooh.
April's art month in Perry.
Turns out.
We just did this. It's the Dogwood Festival too. If you're into dogwood trees.
I got in trouble for cutting one down when I was a little kid because it was a state.
Isaac Washington.
It was a state tree in North Carolina.
So it's illegal to chop them down?
I don't know. That's what my dad told me.
Oh, okay. All right, Mr. Tom. I feel you on that one. Yep.
I think it might have been. I don't know. I'd have
It
to.
could have been still, but that's definitely one of those things where
I don't think I was supposed to be using the hatchet, and I
Yeah.
used the hatchet.
you probably could have gotten in trouble for it. You know what I mean? But it's probably not one of those huge like offense things.
No,
Not a big
yeah,
deal.
yeah.
But as a kid, you're like, oh yeah, that's a federal offense.
That's a federal offense.
you wrote your name on money. So either way, much love, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. If you listen this long, you must really like us a lot. And that means we really like you a lot, probably too. So much love to everybody. It's been a hard week. I feel a little bit lighter. I'm gonna get out of here, go back to work again, getting ready to make it more close to what I want because I just, not settled yet. But call buddy 678-226-1994 at the Musco Trial Firm. He's probably just sitting around listening to the show right now. He's like, man, I wish somebody would call me and talk about some personal injury stuff. Like, it's kind of just want to like talk about it.
Or personal stuff. Personal injury, personal stuff.
Personals, whatever you're into. Let's call him up. 678-226-1994. Thanks to Isaac. Thanks to Parkway Automotive Studios. Thanks to everybody that was helping out last week. Several people put in multiple hour days. So I can't thank you guys enough for helping with that kind of stuff because I literally would not have been able to do it all by myself. You guys know who you are, so thank you. It'll mean a lot to me for a long time. But yeah, man, stay tuned. We're really trying to do big things. I know I say that almost every week. It feels like, but we really are like every week trying to do bigger and bigger and better things. Much love, everybody. Peace.